First on the agenda is the Extension Advisory Board. So you just come up and tell us what you want us to hear. Then we'll ask you what you don't want to tell us.
Exactly. All right, Pennington County Extension Board, I'm Tiffany Meyer.
I'm Matthew Olson. I'm the 4-H Youth Advisor and Extension Department Head. Want me to say anything more?
Nope, you introduced yourself on Tuesday, so you're good. All right, so we have in front of us the 2016 budget. There was a few changes just because realizing that we needed some more in travel, just with areas that I was looking at. We did have one person last year. We gave back money last year, and a little bit was because we did have a halftime person, but the state didn't charge us since they were only here for a month. And it took them pretty much all year for us to get another halftime person, Jane, behind us. So we didn't get charged, so that money didn't get used last year. But there were a few other things. We had to replace a couple stoves and a wall-mounted oven, a counter range. We replaced those. And those were kind of our two most expensive items in the kitchens that were from the 1960s when the kitchen was first built. There is still one more oven range that we need to update, but we were able to update two of the microwaves also that were back from the 60s, maybe 70s on those, but and those were with Walmart brand items, so they weren't very expensive. Trying to think what else. Yeah, our mileage, when I got to looking at our mileage, that's pretty much that $1,956 was just me last year, and now we have two people. And so they're working off of this year for $2,500. So that's why we kind of upped it to at least $500 more to see if we need to pull from other things throughout the year, we can do that. Other line items that we kind of just closed out and moved the money down was because when Springbrook changed over with line items they put in, then just through the past couple of years, they just weren't fitting, so they were pulling them anyways from below. So we just decided to just move that money out and put it in the appropriate areas to make bookkeeping easier for our support staff and for the auditor's office here. We are currently, right now, we do not have a full-time support staff. She left us at the beginning of June. So we are in the midst, we just closed on it on the 15th. And so we'll be looking at that stuff here soon. And hopefully we'll have somebody in by, in July, right during fair season. So they'll be hitting it with their feet running. But we'll get them trained up with either have them go up to Butte Lawrence County, because they have a really good secretary that can train up there to get them going with the fair online stuff. And that way then fair can go off hopefully smoothly. So let's see. Is there any questions? Yes.
Yeah. Do other fairgrounds have 4-H extension offices
What do you,
around the country, or is this just something that Pennington County? I've been involved when I was young in 4-H and did some projects, but is it part of the fair?
We are
Tell
part
me
of
basically the philosophy of having a 4-H extension on the fairgrounds.
We are part of the fair, so
Okay.
we open up the building during fair, and people come in and look at all the exhibits. That's how we recruit a lot of people, is when they come in during fair time. We do our contest in there, and so it's very common for them to be on the fair throughout the county.
Okay, so other counties do this? And
yeah.
Throughout the United States or South
Yes.
Dakota? Or
Yeah, throughout the United States. I've worked in a couple different states, and it was very common for the extension office to be on the fairgrounds.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, honey.
Any other questions? As we've seen in other budgets, the health insurance is a big jump.
Yeah, and well, last year with that, we had our last support staff, she actually went from just her, and then she added her husband on later, so that's why that jumped considerably. Not knowing what the new person's gonna be, if they might have a family on. I know they'll come in lower than what she was getting paid, because this is, the $45,000 is with Jane's quarter that we pay for her, and then also the support staff. So we did lower the, it's a administrative 3 instead of administrator 5. So they will come in around, a couple $1,000s less than what she was getting, but not knowing if they're gonna have a family plan instead of just an individual. It's kind of a lot of ifs on that one, so.
And you went up about 20,000 in the last 2 years?
That's because we added a second person, which we pay a quarter of their fee to the state, and the state pays the rest. And then just we've been programming and recruiting more kids and going out more to Wall, Hill City, and Keystone.
The Ellsworth program does not appear on this.
No, that's a separate program. That's all grant funded. And so he pays for everything for that out of his pocket, or out of the grant fund, so.
Okay.
And
Any
that's
other
with-
questions?
And that's his, everything with the computer and supplies and stuff he does, so.
Got this all figured out, man?
Not yet, but I will.
Okay. How many days you been on duty now?
Let's see, I'm on day 8 now. And earlier this week, I was up at Camp Bob Marshall, so
Okay.
didn't have a good chance to really dig into this yet, so.
He'll get trained. He'll be a star at it next year.
Well, you've got a good trainer.
Well, if there are no more questions, we just let you go on with the rest of your day.
All right, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a
Thank you.
great day and weekend.
You too.
Yay
Thank
for
you.
last day of budgets.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have a great day, guys.
Have a good day.
You too.
Yeah.
Bye.
Okay. Next is registered deeds.
You guys want to talk, or do you want me to call her?
Well, is there any comments, questions? Not, I guess we just will call her.
As you notice, we like this office because it brings in more money than it costs us. This registered deed. Revenue is over $1 million.
Did you bring the computer systems and different stuff in?
God.
She's going to?
Working on it, I don't know where she's at.
I'll ask her. It's always nice.
Okay.
Hi, can you come downstairs for ahead of schedule?
Please.
You see the rainbow up there, George?
No, it was overcast. No. No, oh, that rain, oh, sorry, sorry. I was concentrating on, yeah, no. But I got blinders on though, you know, like the old workhorses, you know, so they, you know, these youngsters don't know about blinders, do they? Probably.
Oh, I know
You know about them?
Yeah, my dad had teams of horses. I
Oh,
did.
okay. That could get interesting before it's over.
Well, did you get a chance to look at the article in the paper today?
I kind of glanced at it, yeah.
Yeah, they mentioned that at the chamber meeting yesterday morning.
I anticipate that the other folks that moved up there are probably going to have a little bit of controversy. I'll just put it that way. Most of them know, but there's just a few that will go like that.
Morning, Donna.
Good morning.
I hear you're the one that makes the money.
Yes,
I'm teasing you.
I pay for my office and another office and a half.
I like your shirt.
Thank you.
Looks comfortable.
Might have a summer day.
You-
When and the IT department, we're going to handle the website fees. I looked at that chart again and I had interpreted incorrectly. So I had $2,000 too much in the professional service fee. So, I'm giving you that correction page. I will email that to Holly and Julie, please, yes. I'm all thrown off. I usually don't say much. My staff that I have currently, I'm, as you saw, my long-range plans, I probably will be with that level for a while, unless the legislature does give us extra responsibilities that you don't know about. You never know what they're gonna do. But I have been able to maintain at this level. Of course, our document count has dropped too. So, but we are up 300 documents this year than we were from last year, so that's an improvement. But we're out with computer world, electronics. I've been able to put a lot of work into that, doing the stuff by digitizing and stuff like that, getting better equipment, and things work faster with less people. So that is my staff situation. Do you have any questions at that point?
For some reason, I've been focused a little bit on the health insurance, and yours went down tremendously compared to the jump in other department budgets.
There was a lady that decided to try another field, so she quit on me.
There you go.
And when I hired a replacement person, that person did not take insurance. So I went from a family plan that is very expensive down to nothing. So that is one big cut.
Okay.
And I think there was one other employee too that changed their plan so that went down also. So there was a couple of big changes right in there.
Thank you. Any other questions for Donna?
And then for my revenue, excuse me, it's too early in the morning to be talking, excuse me. I did kind of keep, the marriage, I dropped another 1,000 because the driver's license verification program will be done as of July 1st this year. So there will be probably not as many applications for the certified copies of their marriage records that has been going on for the last 5 years. And the birth and death have been pretty constant, so I didn't change that too much. We'll see how that plays out. Also, as I said, the revenue for the recording documents, I've kept at 1 million, and so I think I hit that last year. Yes. More than that, but anyway. So that's the revenue.
Any questions for Donna?
So Donna, do you want to explain the Register of Deeds taxable lease and the non-taxable lease,
Okay.
please?
On the taxable lease, that is the photocopies that are purchased by the title companies.
Okay.
And those are taxable. So we charge them a fee per page, and then we put a tax on that. And then the non-taxable is they pay me a kind of a user fee. or certain things that we supply for them in the office when because they're there every morning. And there are certain things that we work with them, and so it's just kind of a user fee, $250. Also, if, when things drop enough after this driver's license verification requirement drops, I will contact the state vital records office, and we possibly will start doing the issuing of, taking the charge. People that want to purchase their vital records using a credit card over the phone. We can do it at the counter now with the $2.50 fee, but that $2.50 fee goes right to the credit card company.
Credit card.
For supplying us with the software and the machinery to be able to do that. But when it's over the phone, then there is a expediting fee. So the state gets $5 and we would state gets $6.50 and we get the $5. So that, the non-taxable fee would go into that, or that fee, $5 would go into the non-taxable fee. Okay?
You started a program and went through the state with other Register of Deeds. I don't know if George knows about your program. You were telling about when I ran, and it was how you collected fees on different things and went through the state because of basically the users and buying some of this stuff instead of just, it was becoming a big expense. And do you know the program I'm talking about was like 66% you collected and?
Well, that is the vital records.
Yes.
Yes. We only get, of the $15 that we collect for each vital record that we issue, $10 goes to the state and the county only gets $5. And the counties throughout South Dakota do 85% of the issuing. And the state does the remainder. So we do the bulk of the issuing. But the state does supply us with the software that we can go straight into the state system and issue it from the state system. They supply us with the signature pads for the marriage license, and they supply us the certified paper.
Was there a need for this? And this is why you had brought this forward with the Register of Deeds. I mean, was this crucial for your office, Ms. Donna, when you brought this program forward? Why did it all come about?
The electronic system, it had been created already before I even got elected.
No, not the electronic system.
Oh, you mean the credit card?
Nope, you started a program.
Oh, you're probably talking about the $30 flat fee?
I need to get with you so we can talk about it. It was, when I was
Sorry.
running, you initiated some stuff so we could collect fees from different things that weren't getting collected at the time. And it wasn't a bad thing, it was a good thing because of, and I apologize, I don't remember all the details, but it was a good program for the state and for the Register of Deeds around the state. And it was something that you collected 66%, and then you had to divvy some to the other Register of Deeds through that.
Okay, that's the Modernization and Preservation Fund.
Thank you.
That's my next.
Okay, I apologize.
That's okay.
Okay.
That's all right, yes. I worked very hard on that. So that's the modernization. If we're done with my regular budget?
And I apologize, I thought that came
We're
together.
there. We got there.
Thank you, Ms. Donna.
Yep, okay, so that's the Modernization and Preservation Fund. That was started to help the smaller counties start getting more electronics, digitizing, and get computers, because what we're working for is e-recording. And this is what a lot of the nationally, because it used to be that the bank, we'd go to the bank here in Rapid City, get our loan for our house, and it used to stay here. That's a long time ago. And then it started being assigned out to other companies that nationwide. Well, now they still get a sign nationwide, but it's gotten a lot more,
Regulations changed.
regulations changed a lot, and they are putting more and more regulations on the public that does the closings for these home loans, from the banks to the title companies. And one of the things that will help them, because they need all this tracking, is if they can send these documents to us by e-recording. And by using this, by creating this flat fee, we have made it easier for the title companies and the banks and the other lending institutions to know what that fee is. There's no fluctuation. And then it would get this money to the smaller counties. And one of the benefits would be then we would have the money to purchase the software for e-recording. And this would make did I make sense? This would be a way for the banks and the title companies to track it as to when we got it in our office.
And be very customer service as well for the customers
Customer
that have
service,
to
yes.
deal with all that in between. So you saved the customer or the taxpayers money doing that as well, Donna,
We
so.
will be, yes, because we'll be cutting back on the postage and we'll be cutting back on envelopes, things like that.
Time, and that's huge. I just thought that was worth bringing up because I remember when you ran, there was some controversy on some of that stuff, and maybe that has nothing to do with budget, but it has a lot to do with how hard you work in your office and doing change in order to make it better customer service, so I appreciate that.
You're welcome, I'm trying. So, I'm on the
M&P budget.
M&P budget, yes, thank you. I kept it at 60,000 again for the request for 2016. I will be having a new maintenance program that will be starting at the last half of this year. And I will continue it in the M&P budget next year. And there would be, they're offering some software that's called OctiEye. What it does is it reads the documents and it will pull off the grantor grantee and it will pull off the legal description if you wanted to do that much for you. So if the document count becomes so big, that is something I can have that software do, and I can have my staff working on other things that human beings need to be, or we can just concentrate on the verification part of making sure our documents are in the system correctly and are being preserved for the next 100 to 500 years. Also, I am trying to accumulate more money in there. My revenue only shows, I'm estimating $54,000, but I have not spent my money down to have nothing left. I had, at the end of 2014, $45,588 left in the account. So the money that I'm bringing in this year, it keeps building up. I'm also looking at doing redaction of the documents from 1974 to present day, of taking off personal information off the documents, and then possibly opening up as it's not going to be a wide open website access to my documents. I would prefer that they would be paying clients, so I know who's in there and kind of keep an eye as to what they're doing. So that's what I'm kind of trying to build up a slush fund for also, if that makes sense.
Are the numbers in your M&P fund budget in your overall budget anywhere, or are they totally
Cannot be.
separate?
They're completely separate. They have to
Okay.
be separate.
Thank you.
That is why I can accumulate money in it for a big project in the future, because it does not ever go into the general fund.
Thank you.
And I have to be very careful, and we all have to be very careful to make sure, because it says in state law, you still have to give me a budget to operate. That my office cannot completely function, the M&P fund is only for modernization and preservation. Seeing like this last year, what I did is the cabinets that are in my real estate room, they have the doors on them, and I purchased it with the M&P fund because that will preserve my index books if there ever is a fire and the water sprinklers go off. So that'll protect them.
I appreciate that you brought this in a business sense because it helps your office. It also saves the general fund money.
Yeah, yeah.
So those,
And it's a user fee, because those that record their mortgage, do a lot of mortgagee, borrow a lot of money or purchase a lot of property, they're the ones that pay for it. And that's kind of how the Register of Deeds was set up initially in the United States, was to be a kind of a self-paying office. But when you get into smaller counties, that doesn't happen.
and you helped that get done?
Just helped a little bit.
Nah, I think you did good. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
I have a question or two on that M&P. That, where does the money come from?
It comes, the $30 that you pay to record a document in my office, $3 of that stays here in the county, and $2 of it goes to the South Dakota Association of County Officials to be deposited in an account. At the end of June, when all the money, or at the end of July, the year is from July 1st to June 30th. In July, when all of our reports have been put in and our money has been sent in to the association deposit, then in August, we as a committee split it 66 ways, and that $2 then that's been put in all that pool is divided out to the 66 Register of Deeds.
The local source is just one specific source, or everything you charge for can go into this fund?
Just the recording of the documents. Just the recording fee. Each document that comes in my office for recording is a $30 recording fee.
Okay. And all that goes in this fund, or just the part, just the part to make the quota?
$25 goes into the general fund.
Okay.
Okay, $3 goes into the M&P fund for Pennington County Register of Deeds.
Okay.
$2 of it goes to the state fund with their county association. Then in August, that is totaled up, and 66% of it, it's divided 66 different ways after administrative fees are taken off for the county association office handling the whole thing.
Okay. I guess where I was going to that, you mentioned 25 or 26,000. You're ahead of the game at this point. You don't need to transfer any of that, even if you could, into this fund, because this fund is self-supporting, basically.
This fund has to be self-supporting.
And I guess now I know what what M&P stands for. I thought it was probably Mamas and Papas or something, but
Mom and Pa Kettle.
yeah. Who came up with the name?
The Modernization and Preservation Fund, I guess, because that's what we were trying to accomplish, and we just put it on there.
But that was a group effort from you folks, and
Yeah,
when you met.
it was all the Register of Deeds work. Well, I can't say all of them. There were some of them that were not that interested in it, but I'd say 90% of us were very active in it, in creating it.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, I'm just curious, those counties that fought you on this, what, have they decided to come
Oh,
along?
it has been a huge turnaround, because when they got that first check of $5,000 in 2013, they just, whoa, they did know what they were talking about. And in the time frame too, some of the people that were dead set against computers retired. So the younger generation came in, but it's giving them a good start.
Great.
Yeah, and there's companies out there that are willing to work with them, that they can lease these pieces of equipment so that they can get started on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else?
One more thing, when I walk in your office or walk down the office when I'm going to the different offices, your ladies always say good morning, and I appreciate that. And I do watch when people are giving customer service, whether it be the planning or otherwise, when I'm going to other offices, and they've always been very friendly. So I appreciate that, and your team's doing a good job.
Thank you, thank you. I've been very pleased with the crew I have out there in front. They're exceptionally, very, very friendly and very helpful to the public.
And my husband has said so as well when he's needed stuff for our property, so I
Okay.
appreciate that too.
Good, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a good day.
You
Thanks.
too.
A big one.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah.
You sure you want to come up, Tom?
Do you want to take a nap, Tom, or you wanna- come on up?
Wow.
You know, why don't we just write checks to all these counties and save what we pay to the state to process it?
Yeah.
Yep. Of course,
That's what we're doing.
they wouldn't let us through statute, they'd
That's what we're
find
doing.
one. They'd find a statute where we had to, or they already did. You know that. That's good.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Commissioner.
Morning, Tom. You just tell us what you think we need to know.
Yeah, can I respond to Commissioner Buskerud's comment about, why don't we just do, well, who's legislative liaison?
I fought against that bill,
Yeah.
and our Register of Deeds got it passed anyway.
Well, I'll start out by giving you a little information. You've probably heard we lost a bridge yesterday.
Yeah.
Out in the valley. It's on Antelope Creek Road. It was a 30-some foot timber structure. We found the deck yesterday. It's little over half mile downstream.
Is that on Rapid Creek?
That is, no, it's on what they call Dry Creek, the locals. I think that's supposed to be Antelope Creek.
It's
Well, it
south-
wasn't dry yesterday.
It's the one on the south of Rapid Creek.
Yes, south of Rapid Creek. So my budget's taking a hit this year. Gonna try to find a way to get a bridge in there. So
So how are those folks getting around?
there
to their
are no
properties?
houses behind there for a couple miles, and they can get in from
Folsom?
Old Folsom Road. Couple of the local guys are grumbling because it's 27 miles to get from their pasture here to their pasture here.
Yeah.
So, but Mother Nature did it to us.
You mean you just didn't go out and do it?
No, I would have liked to have seen it go.
Oh,
That would have been impressive,
Yeah,
but I'm glad I wasn't there.
on it. Yeah.
So, just an update there, that's gonna be closed for probably 4 months. So if you get calls, that's if everything goes smooth, it's 4 months.
Quits
To
raining.
get all the parts together and all the hoops jumped through.
Yeah.
So to budget. I hear that we're 3 million short for our budget, so I figure we're gonna have to find places to cut. And I have looked this over, I do have a few places, but I'm wondering how much you're talking. These contingencies like yesterday are where I've gotta have some held back. But,
And hopefully that'll be the only one. I mean,
oh, we're not done yet.
I know.
We also, Monday, up on, what is that road? Cheney Road, which is up northern part of Pennington County, Cheyenne River took out the road. So we have to rebuild the road up there.
Well, this is extreme flooding year. I don't think it's time to cut your budget, Tom.
Well-
I'm gonna say personally, because what's gonna happen is
I'll do what I can to help.
this water today might not show how bad it is tomorrow from the
Yeah.
clays and the soils of South Dakota.
Yes. Like I said, I have to have a contingency held back for this.
It's just how much you think that contingency in order to cover. And
Well-
I don't know, I haven't done.
What I've
the
got
budget
just
stuff.
in 3 things for the flooding is $1 million it's gonna cost me.
So do you
very
see
bluntly.
maybe you running out of money in reserves from all these different things?
I've got reserves covered. I've got it recovered right now. If we have nothing more, I'm okay.
Well, Tom, what I'm saying is, I don't think you'll have nothing more, but, I
Well,
mean, from just what has been happening in the last 2 to 3 weeks to month,
since May 1st, been fun.
if it stops raining, it's great, but like I said, even when it stops raining, just from past experiences.
I've got
looking other
crews out
places.
right now trying to patch roads so that people can get through. Because we're opening Hammerquist Road, hopefully in an hour and a half, 2 hours. It's been closed for 2 days now.
Where's Hammerquist Road, Tom?
It's down in by Caputa, in that area.
And how many people do that serve, that road?
People can get in and out because they can go either out by way of Farmingdale or out by way of Caputa.
So it serves many people on that road.
Oh, yeah. My brother-in-law lives on that road, so I hear all about it. But, yeah, it serves what? Probably about 9 families down there. But
Nine
it's-
families on this road
On
costs
Hammerquist.
about $1 million?
No, that's not gonna,
Oh, that's just all
that's just
combined.
one that we're opening up this
Okay.
time. The one on Cheney Road, it serves 2 families, but it's a dead-end road.
And that was a priority?
That one, we gotta we gotta be able to get emergency equipment in and out. They had this happen once before and his house burned down back there. So, we're working with the landowners, getting things going.
So how do we prioritize a bridge, a road, and comparables for spending in your budget of what should be prioritized for a one-family or a two-family road?
Well, is it more important for 100 families or one family? You know, we've got the 100 families we'll go for, but,
Well, if
we
I.
still have to get them out. We still have to
Well-
provide roads.
When you do traffic analysis to figure out if a road is, a traffic light, a road is needed, blah, 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 do you not do that with prioritizing roads and spending of what is that priority? Do you see what I'm saying?
No, I'm not-
Based on, you can't get a traffic light, you have to go through process.
Yes,
And if you're 2 people, you're not going to get it as fast as
No.
if there's 40 people going through that.
yeah. No, that's true. But
So-
both of these are on lower volume roads, thank goodness.
And do you have any
but the
higher
one-
volume roads or bridges that need to be done before these roads?
We're working on them. They're, the ones that are higher volume are not a problems right now, not giving us problems. It's these low volumes, one-way in and out bridges, like, Palmer Gulch. They got, what, 16 families back in there? And it's a one-way in and out. That's gonna be a higher priority.
Oh, and that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Are they getting higher priority
will.
before people with 1 or 2 families?
Yes, they will.
And none of these are private roads, they're all county roads?
They're county roads. The one down on, Cheney Road, it's a county road, I'll put it that way, but to me, it's just a long driveway. It's one of those county roads that we've got that goes out and serves one family. We have a lot of those. So, whether it's right or not, I don't know. I'm not gonna say. It's just, this is what I got.
Well, that's why I'm asking how we prioritize things in Pennington County roads and bridges based on volume, based on some kind of analysis. Is there a 5-year plan, and do you stick to that plan, or
I've got a plan for structures and roads and it's based on, needs and uses. If it's a school bus route, if it's a mail route, those sort of things all come into play. Number of, volume of traffic on the road, it all comes into play. Type of surfacing, costs for repairs and such, that all comes into play. To say that one thing is higher than another, yes, and if it's just a low volume gravel road, it gets lower priority than a paved road that carries 500 vehicles a day.
So we don't, we just do everything in Pennington County, and the taxpayers pay for it, not based on any kind of priority, it's just for need.
There's priorities. I mean, if it's a mail route, bus route, or a high volume road, we have to put
Saying
them
that, but you're
higher.
also saying, Tom, that
We don't have it written down.
there's many roads that have, it's basically a driveway to someone's house that we're paying for. I'll just have to get with you, because I need to discuss that anyway, because if it's someone's driveway or if it's something, I'm not getting it, and maybe the bottom line is I need to go meet with you, because I'm not understanding the
I've got
priority.
several roads that are half-mile long that serve one or two families. I've got those roads. That's what we have.
Lindell, you made me remember, but quite a few years ago, 10, 15, maybe 15, 20 years ago, the commission did undertake going out and looking at a lot of those roads and trying to take them off the system, and I think a few of them did get taken off. That's a nightmare. I'm gonna
Yes.
tell you that right now. And they're county roads, and they might lead to one farm or one ranch, but they're a county road.
It's been a county road for 20 years, why are you pulling it off? I can
Bingo,
about hear
you
them.
got it, and we did take quite a few of them off, I think, but it's like pulling teeth, it's tough to do.
I can believe it.
And they can be county roads, which I don't have a problem with, but I don't think they should be a priority before any of our other
No, I don't
costs
think they are.
on money. Well, he
They
just
get
said,
gravel.
he just did a couple of them, so,
Well, one of them, because it's gone now.
right. And when is it they're replacing it, not ours? You live where you live sometimes, too.
But part of this is all to do with some state regulation too, because you have
I have to provide
You
access.
have to do that, and so sometimes there's just more than just our decision involved. There's a lot of state statute. We recently, what is it, within the last 4 years, Ron and Linda, we went through all of the classifications of all roads within Pennington County. We spent almost 2 years working with the state to get them properly classified. And those classifications,
We finished that up just
yeah,
7 months ago.
yeah, those classifications have an influence. But I don't want anyone to think, Tom, that you don't understand. I mean, you know that this road was last worked on in 10 years ago, and you know that at this next 2 years, you have to do something with it. It isn't that you just willy-nilly wait till something falls. You do know. When you say you don't have a plan, I've sat here and listened to you and to Heine, and you guys do have a plan.
We have a plan, it's just not written
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
It's not written out. We've got all of our maintenance on all of our roads well, I know, I've read them for the last 20 years. And we go on a cycle. Paved road, we chip seal every 8 years. We've got them all mapped out, which ones are which. Gravel, we try to put 2 inches of gravel about every 7, 8 years. We have them all on a rotation.
And I understand all that by statute. I just wanted to, and need to come understand it a little bit better. I understand state statute, I know about roads and different stuff, but county might be different. And just from seeing 5-year plans and things like that, that gave me the understanding. And then when we talked about it, and I talked about it with Mark on other roads that were being done with 1 or 2 families, then I wasn't understanding the priority. So for me, or someone to say that I don't understand, or you don't understand, I think we do. It's, the bottom line is, what's that priority and how we get that done. So that's what I need to understand.
Okay.
Okay? So I appreciate that, Tom.
Well, some of these roads, I don't understand why they're county roads. I'll be honest.
Well, and
why
that's,
others are not.
And that's why I talked with
I'm-
Mark about it and you about it, and we can talk more about it, but thank you.
You do publish an annual report.
Yes, we do publish the annual report with all the work we've done and everything.
Yep, and I have that.
And as I've browsed through it, I've found that there's quite a systematic process of
Yes,
traffic counts and all kinds of things. that
yes. It's
cause
all
you
part
to
of the
list out
process.
your-
Yeah, we do traffic counts. Every road gets counted at least, we try to do it every 3 years, so that we can see if there's any change in traffic patterns, to see if we have to upgrade a road or can downgrade a road.
Yep, and I did
All
see
part of
that,
the
but based on priority and those traffic counts, that's why I didn't understand it. Thank you.
So, yeah, it is, we do have a system, we do have it, but now we're trying to get it on paper.
Before we leave Mr. Chair, if I might, before we leave the private driveway issue, and I know you didn't use private, you used long driveway, and which implicit is private. Is there any, does anybody know, is there any guidance in statute at all as to what the government's obligation is for access, private access? I think you know what I'm saying, that
I just
they're
read it.
long driveways.
I can't remember where I read it, George, if it was through something that we were doing, remember with, over at
Yeah.
Spring Creek, remember?
The one you just
Yes.
had on the commission meeting.
And I'll get those for you, George, or maybe meet with Tom, because I just read a bunch of the statutes on what we do for right-of-ways and roads and private drives.
I don't think we do anything for driveways. I think it's against the law to spend public
Yeah.
funds on private property.
Yeah, that's right. Unless you're well, then how is it for providing access to a property?
Well, that's a different law.
I know,
Isolated tract.
because
And
like
it
this
doesn't
one up
be,
on Cheney.
it does not
that's-
become, it becomes public property it becomes a public road once we do that.
See, that's what the one up on Cheney Road. It's we're
Mm-hmm.
providing access up to his property line. It feels like a long driveway, is what I said.
And they might be.
Because it is, it's 4 miles,
Yep.
yeah, from bottom of the hill to his property, it's 4 miles, and it just feels like a long driveway.
All on his private property?
This is on another piece of private property.
That further compounds it.
But it is a county road right now across there.
And the other individual has given the county an easement?
We have an easement there because it has been there for over 20 years and all that stuff. But I also am having to rebuild it now because the river took it out.
That gets more ticklish when there's another private party involved.
Especially when that other person is
How we
Jack
ended up
Lane.
putting an easement
You
across.
better have it
River Road.
ready for deer season. So the guys from Rapid City that go deer hunting down there, get there the way they want to get there.
Yeah,
We just do condemnation, it sounds like, and then we get an easement for someone, and then we move forward and get a driveway for someone.
And while we're on current
And of course,
situations,
we don't want the value of
That's
the
what it looked
agricultural
like on that
products to
property.
get to town.
while we're on current status, it'd be
with
interesting to see
Asian
if
with
that
a-
bridge fund were in
with
the
the
bridge
auto.
grant fund were in place right now, how high a priority you suppose that bridge on Antelope Creek Road would be? Let's just say that fund's in place. Let's just back the clock up or move it, whatever way you want to, and say, okay, is the Transportation Commission now, because of this unplanned event, obviously, would that bridge go way on top of the list if the fund were there?
That's a good
You
question.
understand what I'm saying?
good question. But this is not a mail route, so that would be against us on this one. I don't think it's a bus route, so that would go against us. Those are two of the big items that they look at. School bus route and mail routes.
But gone, would that stack up pretty close to the top of that list? I mean, there's got to be some kind of a priority list whenever they get around to it.
Well, that's
Yeah,
what I'm saying with us.
You're just gone, you know?
That's why I'm saying about our priority list. Other people are doing stuff like that based on what you just said, George. And if we're doing that, then is this on our funding list first, or are we using it for Palmer Gulch and everything else that's on a bigger high priority because of flooding or what might happen to those bridges because of this flooding. Make sense?
Well, where I'm really going is if we give them a bunch of money here for that bridge fund, can we access it? I'd rather have it stay right here,
Yeah.
in reserve,
Yep,
because stuff does happen.
yep.
Anyway, so when Ron helps go right in the rules, you can put that in the rules, right? Or some of that philosophy.
I agree with you. I mean, that's going to be a good question. What gets higher priority? A bridge that washed out in Pennington County or one in Minnehaha County that has been around for 60 years and is not in good shape?
I thought the understanding
But
was.
it's still
you get-
usable.
Don't you get a pot
Yeah.
of money and then you spend it on your priority?
No,
Not
not
in
the
the-
way it's going to go here. It is, you're going to,
Oh.
I understand, you're going to put of course, they haven't written the rules, so who knows? You're going to put here's a bridge I need and here's why, and then they're going to rank them.
Yeah, they're gonna rank them. That bridge improvement grant that they're setting up, the local bridge improvement grant, they will decide what the priorities are.
See, the problem though, with having rules written down and sticking to it is, now all of a sudden, we have an extraordinary event, and so all your rules and all your sticking to it are out the window.
Yeah, but if you have emergency events, do you stick to that priority, meaning on those emergency, you would do the same thing? Who has the biggest emergencies first and fix them based on priority and then fix the others? Make sense?
Sure.
So you see where I'm
In
going?
a way, the acronym is a misnomer. It says bridge improvement. Well, what about replacement?
That is an
I
improvement,
mean,
huh?
well, but there ought to be a better acronym. And there ought to be a mechanism where if they go through with this, and I'm sure they are, and I feel us getting the shaft, of course, but there's got to be some provision so they can react to say, okay, you got wiped out. For whatever reason, you got wiped out, and that's what happened. And that's got to go to the top of the list.
And who's going to decide all this, and when are they going to meet, and how often are they going to meet?
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It looks like your budget will stay the same this year until we figure it out.
Well, and we
Time to take the
have,
money out.
we have some reserves in Pennington County to kind of handle some of this to a point. But those small counties, like, look what happened with Meade County, going north out of New England.
Yep.
They don't have that kind of reserve. So for them, they need to have a quick answer. We might be able to muddle through for a while, but they couldn't. And this is a very good question for them that I don't know.
Can you use unorganized road to build a bridge?
I would say, how do I want to answer this? I would say you probably can't, but I do so much other work with unorganized road, which to say this dollar is going here, this dollar is going here. You know, let's be honest, I've got what, a page and a half of different revenues coming in for bridges. And, okay, does this dollar go here and this dollar go there? It kind of comes into one pot and then goes out from there. Just as long as I do enough work on unorganized roads to cover that unorganized roads, then
Your 965,000 in increase of revenues, that is including, basically what that is the new bill.
that is because of Senate Bill 1,
Yeah.
for the most part. And just the general, how funds grow a little bit.
Okay, so I thought you
'Cause
were going to get like 2.5 million or 2 million out of that thing. Now I'm thinking wheel tax, I guess.
Yeah, you're thinking wheel tax. The wheel tax is a totally different beast
So
here.
this really, although it's $1 million here, $1 million there, person, you're talking big money. But this wasn't that big a boon to Pennington County, less than $1 million. I mean, geez, the way everyone's talking, man, this is the worst thing that's ever happened. Wow.
You gotta remember, we're also contributing to the bridge fund. That's money we can't see right now. And I don't know how much of that is.
Well, had they started taking that out?
The bridge funds, they haven't started handing it out yet. That's going to be happening, I think they said September.
When it passes.
But that money is included in this, so that isn't even gonna be less that we're gonna get out of this.
The bridge fund money, the money that came up here is not part of the bridge fund at all.
But it is part of the new program.
Part of the
And
new
the bridge
program.
fund is gonna come out of that new program.
Yes.
So our 965, next year is not going to be 965. The bridge fund is gonna come out of that again.
No,
Two different-
that's, I'm looking at it as two pots. There's the road fund and the bridge fund.
Yeah.
The 965 is the road.
Yeah, and where's the bridge fund gonna come from?
The bridge is another pot that we haven't seen yet
No, but where's it coming from?
from this, from our
From-
taxes.
From the road fund.
It's coming from the new taxes that they installed.
George, you see what am I wrong, way wrong of you? Maybe I am, I don't know.
It's
Well-
not part of that 950 is what I'm saying.
I don't think anybody knows for sure, but what I anticipate is they're gonna send us a check, or a voucher, and we're gonna write them a check. Well, whenever they decide. The 7 million, there's people think it's gonna come from next increased license plates, and I disagree. They're gonna send us a voucher for about $1 million. That's my gut feel.
We keep,
That isn't settled yet, but we're gonna get shafted whichever way.
that,
And whether we pay it with a wheel tax, or what do we pay it with?
that 700, we figured about 785,000 is what that was from Senate Bill 1. That's 40% of what they collect. The other, almost 60%,
Is gonna
they
go-
still have.
And
We
some
have
of
not-
that is gonna go into the bridge.
That's going into the bridge.
Okay.
So Tom, what is unorganized reserves? Unorganized tax reserves, or what is it? When you're talking about allocated from unorganized
That
reserves?
is from the unorganized, from the road and bridge reserves that we have.
Okay, I didn't know if it was from just road, because you have a bridge and a road, one for 250 and the other for 750. So you're
Yeah.
using both funds,
That's our road and bridge reserves, yes.
unorganized, okay.
That, Heine built that up because we have two big projects coming up. He built the road and bridge reserve up. It was over $10 million. We've got 6.5 that will go out to
Garden Lake.
Sheridan Lake Road, yeah. When they get around to giving us the information so we can get started on it.
Yeah.
We're still waiting on the environmental assessment for that job from the state. And he also figured 3.5 million towards the South Rochford project.
So do you have to go through, like, let's say a big bridge washes out, it's an emergency. Do you have to go through all that process of what you just said through EPA and all that other stuff when you put back up a road and it's emergency?
For a road or a bridge?
Either.
Bridge, we gotta jump through all the hoops, no matter what. With the Corps of Engineers, the EPA, the Fish and Wildlife, we have to jump through all their hoops.
But not for roads.
Roadways, if it's on private property, not the same way. If it's on Forest Service, it's a different story. We gotta jump through Forest Service's hoops. Which we've got a pretty good working relationship with part of the Forest Service, so that's, we've streamlined that some,
Thank you.
which really has helped. But for a road, it's mostly dealing with the landowners, dealing with getting the easements and the right-of-way that we need to get the roads done. Unless, unless we go through a wetlands area, then we gotta deal with with Fish and Wildlife.
So you have undesignated miscellaneous supplies, you went up 230,000?
Pardon, which one?
Any county highway line budget history? 2014, 15 was 260, 2016 is 250. From 2014 to 2016, why such a high increase? Are you buying different
Which,
supplies?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you were saying. Which line item?
Undesignated miscellaneous supplies. In 2014, they were 29,000. 2015, they were 260, and this year they're 250.
Unorganized.
Be under Pennington, page 2.
Undesignated miscellaneous supplies is what
Yes,
you're
sir.
talking?
Is there some equipment or supplies that you had to buy?
In 2015, they were trying to get a truck. Is why that went up as much as it did. And I'm glad it did, because with that is what I bought sanders and plows with at the beginning of the year.
For undesignated supplies?
From my undesignated miscellaneous supplies. That's what I bought those plows with. Plows, wings, and sanders. There was almost 200,000 there. The 250, I just didn't change that one, because I didn't.
With supply money, you bought capital costs.
We transferred out of the undesignated into our, into the funds that we needed, that we show that we spent it from.
For vehicle replacement.
We do a transfer from this to where we get supplies. Once we designate what it is for. Heine left that one way up to me when he left, where I was gonna spend that money, because he thought I probably would have a different priorities than he did. And he's right.
It doesn't go under vehicle and equipment.
It can be
Under-
transferred into that.
You transferred from, how'd you get it in? How'd you get it in there from 30,000 to 230 without anybody noticing?
From 30 to 260, I think Heine did a
Put it
pretty
under
good job there.
supplies? Instead of equipment, and then transfer the 230 over to vehicle or,
Yes.
like, yeah.
It's called disguising where you're spending the money.
How can you not notice that?
I guess I must not have paid any attention.
Whoa. Okay.
We could probably go back and look at the narratives and so on that.
Okay, you want me to start at the beginning now?
Let's hear your,
Yep.
You probably just planned this activity to get us disguised away from the real issue, right?
Pardon?
The thought, you probably did all this just to keep us off
No,
balance.
no, I just wanted to get you up to date on what was going on out there in the
I
real
mean,
world.
you made it happen, so.
Okay, 2016 budget reflects an increase of that 956,000. That is mostly due to the SB1 bill. And inclusion of secure roads, rural roads funding. This is something Julie pointed out to me that we had missed. Well, again, I figured we'd pull another $1 million out for the building. For the building of DeGeest and Twilight, because we were going to use $1 million out of the reserves for those projects this year. Because of right-of-way and plans preparation, they're not gonna get built this year. So I'm requesting that we instead use the $1 million next year for that. That was before yesterday.
yeah.
He's doing the same thing.
This is just matching what we pulled in 2015, that $1 million. Because I figured we'd have $1 million left over at the end of the year, which would go back and pull it back out, do the balancing act there. Our wages, we did, excuse me, just. Thought I was gonna sneeze there, sorry about that. Following budget guidelines is just prescribed to us. We figured for a 1.5 cost of living adjustment and proposed merit increases. 1% increase in health insurance premiums and the 3% for dental insurance. Our payroll increased by 31,000. We are currently at our 50 FTEs for the county highway. We are filled up. This is all part of the road and bridge budget. We're not this year requesting any more FTEs. Next year, we have four motor graders, which are maintenance agreements and everything are coming due. I am proposing to buy 4 new motor graders and sell those 4. Those motor graders go for about $250,000 a piece. That's why this is over $1 million. That's basically what I have in my narrative, so. We have a big purchases coming up in the next 2 years. All of our motor graders are coming due. The 4 that we have are all right around that 5,000 hours a piece. We figure we can get some money back. I'm proposing that once we get the new ones, we sell the old ones on Iron Planet. Because I've had pretty good result. When we were in Minnehaha County, we had pretty good results selling on Iron Planet. We usually sold things for about 5 times what we could get locally.
How many graders do we have?
We have 10. They all are coming due in the next 2 years. You know, all of their warranties, everything are coming off in the next 2 years.
2 in the wall, 2 Hill City, 2 under New Underwood, and the other 4 here, or?
Something like that. 1 in New Underwood. I think 3 in Wall. 2
In Hill City.
Hill City. 2 or 3 in Hill City. I can't remember for sure right off the top of my head. And then the 2 or 3 here in Rapid.
We must put some hours on. I think I thought he just bought new ones here 4 or 5 years ago.
6 years ago.
Boy, time gets away.
They got the warranty on those are the ones coming up next year.
Okay. Just seems like yesterday, a new grader comes by and you don't even hear him anymore. I mean, the motor's unbelievable, just unbelievable.
And I remember going through this conversation with Honey where he used to bring everything in and it was a huge hit. And the request to the commission was to space it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that process is a little better than it was.
Yeah,
instead of coming and getting 10 of them.
It's still a big bite.
Yeah, it is.
$250,000 a pop.
Yeah, it's big.
That's a big bite.
Well, you do me a favor, Tom, because you have that 250,000 in 2015, and then your vehicle and your equipment stuff's not adding up either for this year. If you even add that 250, could I, and maybe this commission get an explanation of why the 260 was put in there in 2015 and the 250 in 2016? I mean, and undesignated is probably the key there, but where was that pot of money? I mean, where did you get the money to put in the 260 and then for 250, the same thing? And I see you're not carrying it over to your 2015 or 2016, and maybe you did, but I'm not seeing it because those numbers aren't adding up. Make sense? But.
You're wondering why the 250 and 260?
Yep, and where was the money? I mean, why was it transferred in there? Why is it under undesignated miscellaneous supplies? And where did the money come from to put in there? I mean, and Honey always did stuff above board, and so do you. And I'm not saying anything wrong. You already know when you have a line item, there's a reason why you put it in there. It'd be nice to know.
Well, I can tell you the 260 in 15, Heine put it in there because he didn't know where I was wanting to spend the money. What equipment I would want to upgrade, what equipment needs,
So why wouldn't you put it in reserves or something else? Because he thought maybe if we put it,
It's not.
Okay.
It was not put in reserves, it was put in undesignated so that I could decide where to spend that. Where I felt, the county wants to go with equipment, with, how do I want to put it? Smaller equipment too. would be coming out of that one, such as,
A mower.
Chainsaws.
any of those things, anything.
Yeah, but why didn't he do it before? In 11 and 12 and 13 and
I
14?
can't answer for Heine.
That's what I'm saying. So maybe we could have, Mark probably
Oh,
knows the history on it
those-
as well.
Those, I think, are the resulting after transfers.
Yeah.
That's what they didn't spend. The 2011 actual, 12, 13, and 14 are what were left in there after they spent out of it. Because they would transfer those to like vehicles in greater than $5,000 is a good example. Because that's where we'd buy trucks. So those are probably what went into the reserve afterwards, after it was all said and done. Because you notice they're all 29,961 and 33 cents. That's what was left at the end of the year.
I have to come to your office anyway, so maybe I could talk to your accountant and then we can get that, so I have an understanding. 'Cause-
I have a feeling that that's what it is. That was what was left there that was not designated.
Okay. And then if I have something to bring forward with you, I will. Thank you, Tom.
Go back to the motor graders, if I may, Mr. Chair, there is, Mr. Helmut mentioned, you get these all staggered out now on rather than 4 at one time, should be like 2 a year, maybe kind of thing, or?
That'd be nice. Do $500,000 a year.
Well.
That's what it would be, 2 a year. It's $500,000 a year.
Rather than 4 in 1 year and then none the next year or whatever, it, just, I guess it's just logic to.
The problem is
phase them out.
they're all coming due this next 2 years.
They're all coming
Well-
out of warranty, which
Yeah.
doesn't mean they're worn out.
Right.
I mean, they might be worn out, too.
Some of them are.
Right. That's what I would base how many you need on, more on how bad they are and how much maintenance are we going through. Not necessarily, I've got a lot of stuff that I use at home that is out of warranty, including me. But,
I don't think I have
see what
anything
mean?
in warranty anymore.
Anyway, that's.
And the rest of them,
I
I
can
don't
tell
doubt
you-
that you need.
Right now, we've got one being worked on. If we had to pay for it, it'd be over 40,000 just in the repairs.
That's the trouble, maintenance is high on them.
Yeah. It's an extremely high maintenance item.
and replacing motors and transmissions, and you got the troops to do it, I mean, the folks to do it. Is that
We could do
an
it.
option?
We have the ability, yes, but
And what is a new motor?
I couldn't tell you right off the top of my head.
What's that say?
That's pretty heavy turnover to me, it's,
Yeah, it was kind of a bite to me.
well, it's a lot of money.
But I do also look at what it costs to maintain them. It's kind of spending. How much of a chance do we want to take?
Once you get past the motor and the transmission, it should be, the rest of it should be, if it's not abused.
The one that we have being worked on now is an electronic thing that shorted out and it ruined part of the hydraulic system. And we're looking at $30,000 just in that.
I'm afraid they're like cars, George. You used to be able to
Fix
open
them.
up the hood and fix them yourself, and now you can't do that anymore.
Yeah, nowadays you hook a computer up to it to try to find out what's wrong. That's the problem.
So Tom, on the right-of-way, are you acquiring some right-of-way this year? That's why your 2016 is high?
Yes, I figure Sheridan Lake is gonna go. And I'll have to get some right-of-way out on Sheridan Lake Road. That's why it's up.
And none of that is funded by the state?
We have to get the right-of-way.
You have to acquire it?
We have to acquire right-of-way.
Okay.
Our road,
It's our road, we have to acquire the right-of-way.
that's gonna be expensive.
That's why I bumped that one up. I don't think I bumped it enough. I'll be honest with you.
Maybe you can, just get,
There's
some undesignated in there.
They're pretty devious.
you're funny different.
Any other questions on Heidi's budget?
Heine's?
Or, I'm sorry.
This is mine finally. It's mine finally.
Well, we've had a lot of questions about Heidi's practices, so,
Yeah, well, I can't speak for Heine.
yeah, I know you can't, and I'm sorry. If there, I'd like to go back to some of that general discussion we had earlier if we're done talking about the budget. And one of the questions I have, and relative to Antelope Creek Road and the bridge,
Yes.
what kind of discretion do you have relative to the kind of structure that's put back in there? And I'm thinking of a Texas bridge, or what used to be called a Texas bridge, where they just
Oh, you mean
shape the swale and then cement the,
a low water crossing?
yeah.
That's possible.
Do you have discretion on some of those things?
Right
And if so,
now,
how?
I don't have any funding that I'm getting from the state or anybody, so it's totally my discretion, what I put in there. It is 100% my discretion.
But there has to be standards that you're following for those type of roads.
Yeah. This is not a high maintenance, a high volume road, so we'll have certain standards we have to follow, but we gotta decide what we're gonna put in there. And we haven't even thought about it, I'll be honest
Sure.
with you.
Yeah.
It
Well,
happened yesterday, we're still scratching our head and going, what?
yeah. The other thing that's in my mind is, are you able in any way to sort of lay out the sequence of funding relative to this new tax bill? We had some discussion, I forget who all was involved, but a question of when money would be available from the wheel tax. if
Way
it
I
was
understand it, July 1, we'll get some money from that.
paid. July 1.
Is when the state would be doing their paying out. Wheel tax, I'm not sure how, that's something I'd have to ask Julie about, how that works. When you would get the money for that, I assume it would be coming in as people buy licenses. Because that's when you charge them. So I assume the wheel tax would be,
Well, in the discussion, and it was speculation or exploratory brainstorming, whatever you want to call it, if you separated the wheel tax from the license plate procedure to the extent that you send a bill somewhat like the property tax bill, and you pay it all at once or half in April and half in October. That way, everyone would pay in a given year whenever you start up. Starting up in January and with it effective in March or whenever, so the people that buy their license plates in January and February miss it. You know, that was part of the discussion, and I guess I'm trying to just
Yeah.
think through this whole sequence of transitioning into this system. And frankly, trying to figure out a way to avoid the wheel tax altogether, but be that as it may, the grant fund and the processes, as from the discussion yesterday, the rules haven't even been written yet.
no, they haven't. They're still writing the rules on it.
Yeah. So cash flow wise, budget wise, sequence wise, where are we?
Last I heard with the grant funds, they're looking at September, they're hoping to start doling out the money to scheduling projects. That's what I understood
What time of year?
from my last conversation with Pierre. The other funds, I'm not sure, they said something about July for the other funds that they're going to give out, that they're handing out.
So am I
Road funds.
picking up on this to the extent that it's fair to say that we don't know really where we are on this whole thing?
What's that?
When you say they say,
The state.
Well, but if you call down the pier and you talk to one guy one day and another guy the
Yeah.
next day, you'd probably get two different
I
stories.
get two different stories, two different offices.
Yeah.
But the general consensus that I'm getting is the grant, they're gonna start trying to schedule grant funds for bridges in September or October.
And so any county involved in getting a grant
Has to
wouldn't
have
be able to
They're gonna
start
be-
doing anything until 2016 anyway, and they didn't have it in their budget.
It's going to be in 16 projects. Start getting plans together, hydraulic studies done. Because project with the state for a bridge, you can figure 5 years for a bridge, from when you get approved to when it gets built.
Yeah.
If you're using federal monies, figure 9 to 10, which is part of why they're wanting to get into the bridge, do this grant fund, because they're getting out of the federal monies, so that they can move things faster.
Well, the legislature, don't they work July 1st? That rule goes through, then they have their committee. Can they start by January 1st already implementing that through those committees by January 1st?
Rules are written by the LRC. They go to the Rules Review Committee, which must hold public hearings that are advertised. And holding the hearings does not guarantee that the rules that are being proposed will be adopted.
Okay,
So that process alone can't be triggered until the rules are written.
And they're writing them right now. They're trying to get them written now.
If they're as confused as we are, they probably won't have them done by,
I hope they're not as confused as I am.
and that's my point, is to see through that process, will they be giving any money out for 2016? Or will they be waiting till 2017 because they
I
won't
think-
have all the rules and regs ready to go and to be able to implement?
The way I understood it, they would be trying to schedule projects as soon as possible. Meaning, trying to get the surveys and hydraulics done.
so they'd be starting the process of
Of selection,
3 to 5 years down the road,
yes.
a bridge would be built,
Yes.
possibly.
possibly.
Yeah.
The whole
So-
idea is they gotta get the selection process figured out.
And they'll have monies collected to use by January 1st to divvy out for that process?
That's the way I understood it.
Because if we don't implement a wheel tax, are we not in that 26 process anyway?
Nope, we're not in that process.
That's the way it is.
So,
We can't even apply.
However, how does, with all those factors floating around, why would we would have no basis for making budget decisions
on
for
it.
2016
Based on
based on what we know now?
the local bridge grant, no.
And that's my point. You would probably leave our budget in 2016 the same, and then 2017, it would probably be affected. Unless there was some miracle that they came up with some great rules and we decided that we just love them and we should follow right away.
There
You
will
see
be
what
no
I'm saying?
miracles.
This is Pier.
Well, and that's my point. And I had talked with Buskerud before we started about the same thing. We wouldn't be putting it in here, because if we took the money out or even anticipated it for 2016, probably wouldn't, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't
Well, I
work.
hate to bring us back to earth, but the Rossford Bridge ain't gonna last 3 or 4 or 5 years.
We're hoping to have that. See, we have 3 structures that are already on the schedule, on the old STIP schedule, and that's one of them.
Okay.
We're hoping next year that's gonna get
If,
built.
if it makes it that long.
I'm hoping it does. I'm hoping, keeping my fingers crossed.
And I hate to interrupt this, but can we put signs up, load restriction signs? And not that they necessarily do any good, but they might. I don't think we ought to have any.
That thing is load restricted.
I was gonna say,
It
could
is.
be, George.
We have signs up. It's what our engineers said that we.
I'll have to go look again, but boy, a heavy logging truck could go through that thing.
I know, and they cross it all the time. But we have load restrictions because our blade is legal, as long as we don't have a heavy guy driving it. I mean, that's how close that load restriction is on that bridge,
Wow.
as long as I'm not driving it. I'd be too heavy. But that bridge does have load restrictions.
The driver's in the truck. Kidding.
But we've got 3 structures that are currently on the STIP program that they are going to honor. And that's South Rochford, that's Bradski Road, which is out east of town here, and one structure on Thunderhead Falls Road that they're going to replace.
You're working that one now, aren't you?
Yeah, we're still working on that. We're still getting the design done on that one.
But when you say 3 to 5 years, that's for a new bridge or replacement bridge?
For replacement of what's there, yes, a new structure. That's from the word go.
Yeah, I understand, yeah.
Bradski, if the pier if they would approve the plans the way it is, we could go to construction. South Rochford, we're a year and a half into the process. The one on Thunderhead Falls, we're about a year into it. So we're looking at those 2 to 4 years out. Fun never ends.
Would you get all those answers?
So that means we just have to muddle along,
Means we do the best we can.
just have to muddle through it.
We do the best we can.
And hope there's no more Antelope Creek
There's no
bridges.
more Antelope Creek Bridge. That one is long gone.
But we don't want any repeats.
I don't want any repeats of that, no. Anything
Okay.
else?
Anything else you want to tell us?
Well, not really. I kind of gave you the bad news to start with. I just am hoping that the rain lets up a little because we are burning up a lot of overtime on our guys going out, closing roads, opening roads, getting them ready. And I'm hoping that we can get through this summer without too many major disasters.
Do they give money for, when is it by state that it's called disaster, once you have so many roads, bridges, and stuff wash out in your county? I mean, is there any kind of stipulation or statutes by state?
Got to be over a certain dollar before they even start considering it. And we haven't reached that. We're not even close.
So it's by dollars.
It's just an extreme inconvenience right now.
Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom.
You wanna touch on insurance right now?
If that fits in, yes.
Wanna do that before subsidies? They'll start coming in here shortly.
Yeah. This is under outside.
This is in outside entities, is where our county insurance is located in your books. I have a request from the auditor's office. KJ's our insurance expert, and I can try and answer any questions. If I don't have the answer, I can certainly get them from her. First one, briefly, our unemployment insurance has gone up significantly. We took the hit this year because of, or I'm sorry, 2014, because of the Adams Street facility with the closure of that. So we did bump that number up a bit. The one that I need to ask you is the liability insurance for the county. The auditor's office is asking to change our renewal date because they can't get the financials done in order to hit our end of year. It renews in December, which is a really weird time, so they're trying to get all of our insurance to renew on the same cycle in April. So in order to do that for this year, we need to ask for an extension, and we need to pay for an extra quarter to change that cycle date. So when I put these numbers together, I wasn't aware of that, and I need to ask for that $400,000 under our liability insurance to go up to $428,000, which will include that extra quarter to get us changed, and then we'll be back on a normal cycle. And I can certainly have KJ give you some more details if you're interested in why. It's just she can't get the financials done in December without spending about a whole significant a lot of time doing it by hand, versus in April, financials are done, and she can take about 20 minutes and pull it out normally through Springbrook.
You're gonna want motions on these, is that the way we've been handling the outside agencies?
Yes, sir.
Today,
What we've done in the past is you listen to the subsidies and what their requests are, and then we put it on the next agenda, and you guys make motions on what you want to keep, what you want to cut.
on the next agenda.
Yes, sir, on July 7th, yes, sir. So property insurance is pretty basic, that stays the same. Our deductible is anytime we have to settle a claim, or a suit, we have to pay the deductible, and that comes out of that bottom line. We haven't changed it in probably 6 years, because we just don't know what our lawsuits are gonna be. So,
Well, Holly, on Rapid City Economic Development, we took 10,000, we didn't pay them, right, this year?
no, ma'am, that
Okay,
was
and
cut.
then they're asking for 50,000 this year?
Yes, ma'am.
Whoa.
They'll be here.
To answer your question, Deb, that you brought up yesterday, you were asking about the wavy, subsidy.
Thank you, Miss Holly.
And the light bulb went off at about 4 this morning. We did fund them in 2014 for 25,000. Julie had said 50 yesterday,
Okay,
but it was 25,000 in 2014, and it was 30,000 in 2015.
okay.
It's listed as a domestic subsidy in the state's attorney's budget. And if I remember right, it was through their domestic abuse, their victims assistance program for some counseling services. However, I can't find it in this year's budget. So I've got to call into Mark to verify that if they even requested it this year. Unless the paperwork went right to them, it didn't come to the commission office.
Thank you, Miss Holly, for doing
I
that
just want to
homework.
make sure that we get that covered.
Thank you.
So Wavy in the past has come through the state's attorney's office.
We put it in there 2 years ago, yeah, is when we started to fund them as a subsidy. The Front Porch Coalition, we started last year, and that was, we talked about running it through the sheriff's office, but it's still in an outside subsidy for the Front Porch Coalition, because their team comes in after a suicide and works with the families so that the sheriff's deputies can leave and go do other calls.
And Holly, there was 45,000, and yesterday, and where did that come from again when we talked about that?
45,000?
That's not from us. That's
No,
from the
no,
court system.
that's what I mean.
That's set by statute, Commissioner Hancock, any marriage license and divorce.
That's where it came from. Thank
Yes,
you.
and they're kind of tied together, they both go to the same entity. There's just the state's attorney one that we need to verify for.
Okay, that's
this
what I
year.
need reminded. Thank you, Miss Holly.
Yeah. Do you guys have any other questions on insurance? I mean, we've had a really good rating factor the last couple years, so we've been doing good for our insurance rates. But I do need to make that change to get us on a good cycle.
Is that extra quarter that you mentioned something we act on separately at a commission meeting, or do we?
That's my understanding from KJ, is we would need to officially approve that on the 7th to make that adjustment.
Yeah.
And get that quarter or renewal cycle changed.
Yeah, thank you. If there are no more questions on insurance,
And I will run a health insurance analysis on what amount we're budgeting versus actual and see if there are any stark differences. And we can work with each department to see how they're budgeting. But they're instructed to budget on what they know for sure, and then to do the family plan for any unknowns. Because we'd rather have them a little bit over than keep coming in for supplements and going over for what they can't absorb.
appreciate that.
Yeah. So I'll get those numbers and see if we're starkly different or if we're budgeting the way we should be.
You've been writing down some of the questions like that need to be
Yes, sir.
expanded on. And I would just mention it now that as we're working our way through this, if you have questions, get them to Holly so that as we move on, we can clear up those kind of things.
Yeah, we just want to make sure everybody's getting their questions answered and that if we need to go back and the department heads need to redo budgets with different guidelines from the commission, we have time to do that.
Yeah.
Provisional has to be approved by July 31st. And then we have time to work until final in September. So,
Is it hot in here, or is it me? Yesterday it was cold.
Wait a minute, first it's cold, now it's hot.
I'm good with cold. It's that early age of mine.
might have gone up a couple too many degrees from yesterday.
That's why, like, yesterday it was like, for me, it was good. Then Nancy was cold. Like today, I'm like, okay.
Freezing yesterday. I think
gonna
they
get
said
one
it
of
was
those little
coming out at
fans.
64 yesterday, so that was a little
I know you
cold.
can't control it, but I was like, holy cow.
I wasn't going to say that.
It's not true.
I was thinking that, but I was not going to say it.
I was being nice.
You like living on the edge, do you?
I don't know. I'm gonna have to take the jacket off.
Subsidies, I've just asked them to come in and identify themselves, tell you what they do and what they're requesting, and go from there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think looking just at the audience, we have an assortment of people and relative to the schedule. And I didn't exactly keep track of who came in first, but
I got it. Cool.
I think soil conservation was here first.
Yeah.
So if you want to just come on up, introduce yourself and talk about your budget request.
Good morning.
I'm Roberta Vaughn from the Pennington Conservation District.
Do you want to pull that down? I can't. Sorry. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
thank you.
from the Pennington Conservation District.
Talk to us like you talk to your husband.
No. You have questions on our budget? Have you seen a copy of our budget?
And
We
you're
do
from
have it,
Eastern
yes.
Pennington County or
No, we're
West?
Pennington, we're in Rapid City.
This is the west.
Okay.
Pennington West.
I'm sorry, I was having trouble hearing.
Okay, let's see. I suppose we could question you quite a while on why your budget is lower.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Well, one thing, we didn't have as many seasonal help this year as we did last year. Our season was kind of long with all the rain, but we got it done with 3 people this year.
Has this wet weather affected your tree planting?
We got it done. It was slow though, and they got the fabric down, and that was kind of delayed, but it's all in. And everything looks good.
That's good. Any questions by the commission? If not,
Nope.
thank you, Roberta. And we'll take action on these things later on, but
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming in.
thank you. See,
I think Patty was next. I think Patty was next. Oh, well. Oh,
I think she,
I think, JP, are you here to present or just listen? Okay, okay.
okay, so,
Being a former state senator, she's here to see how democracy and committees are
professionals
supposed to work.
Professionals work.
She's talking about you. And love.
okay, well, whoever, come on up.
Hi, Miss Patty.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Patty Sharp, the Finance Officer for the Central States Fair. And our budget request this year, we just asked for a 1.5% increase over last year. So the total would be $183,503. We use that for maintaining and improving the buildings down on the fairgrounds. And then in addition to that, this year, we do have one other request. We've got a condensation issue in our James Kerstead Event Center. We've had it for several years, and we've tried other solutions, and it hasn't worked. But we want to have a study done to see what it is we do need to do to fix that problem. So we're asking for up to $25,000, just to get that study done and give us recommendations as to what we should do next. So the total of those two would be our request for this year's budget.
Thanks.
Okay, any questions?
So it was 183 plus 25?
Correct, yeah, up to 25. We're not sure how much it will take for that study.
And you don't have that in your budget right now to do that study?
No, we did not.
You do have it in the bank, though.
Yes, we do.
Any other questions?
Can't find it.
I can't find it either.
I can't find your,
It's right here. It
Where's
looks like
right
that.
here?
Does that help?
No, where's right here at?
In the fairgrounds?
front or back of the?
There's a
Oh,
tab that says
it's a
fair.
different one.
I thought we were looking through
I know, I
subsidies.
got confused last night when I was looking at this, but
yeah.
that's the only reason I know.
Fairgrounds, that would be it. Okay,
thought I
thank you.
saw it.
There's a blue tab that says fairgrounds on
That
it.
makes sense.
I saw it, but I couldn't remember where I saw it. That's not good. I'll get used to your books.
Okay.
Well, if we're not going to give her any more questions, I
Thanks, Pat.
Yes, thank you for your time.
thank you for being here. Okay,
Community health also has its own. Doesn't it?
They're in the big batch.
Yes, I'm Laura Jones with the Community Health Center and the Finance Director, and we have,
Okay, where's theirs? Hold on,
we'll
sister.
let you find something.
Is it under subsidies?
Yeah,
Okay, hold on a sec, honey.
I think it's under the, the only one I can find is totals. Probably there
Okay,
somewhere.
I can't even find subsidies. That's not good.
I'm not seeing it in here.
we're just going to ignore you, I guess.
That's okay. You can find it before I talk.
Is there anything you'd like us to know?
We are requesting $89,900, which is a 3% increase from last year. And just to bring to your attention, we do pay back the county with an agreement with Detox, $21,900 as a support for the city-county detox program.
Okay.
Any questions?
Oh, I can't find their stuff.
So Laura, when will your new building be done?
We are, substantial completion is October 15th.
Oh, that'll be nice.
So, move-in date, we're hoping November 1.
Before it storms, hoping for a late blizzard.
Yeah, I don't know if we can consider October safe anymore, but we'll try.
Where's your new building at?
It is 350 Pine Street. It was the old Brookwest School property before it was demolished.
Nice, good location. Where did I go when I was a kid?
Yeah, but it's just before the insurance.
Yeah,
You found it? Okay.
I found where the category.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. Just as a point, when I was looking through this original list, and it has nothing to do with you, but it's something we probably should check on. So Jess, are you going to keep notes? Well, okay. In our list, different entities that we had in our budget last year, we show that we approved for community health 89.9, but in Julie's budget, she shows 44,950, and I want to understand why that's different. So we can just find that out. It has nothing to do with them. It's just something we got to figure out why it's different.
Say that again?
On this sheet, we show that we approved 89.9, but if you look at Julie's budgets, in hers, it says we approved 44,950. And so I want to understand why that's different.
That's exactly half.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sense because if we approved it here on our budget, there's two different approved budget amounts, and I just think we need to have them be the same.
We used to give some to, wasn't there the Wall Health Clinic?
No, we don't anymore.
We don't give
We
any
haven't
of them
for a
anymore?
long time. It used to be Wallen Hill City, and
It's not
we
that
haven't
long.
for a long time. Because that was actually, we were actually giving it to the state of South Dakota, and we didn't do that anymore.
So maybe Holly can just write that as one of her questions and bring that back
Yeah, that's
after
what
she
I
talks
asked Jess to
Julie.
do. So,
Thank you, Jess.
Okay, Denny?
hi, Danny.
Good morning.
Morning.
I've got I think some of you have them. Here's a mountain pine beetle strategy.
You.
Yeah, you've got one.
Yeah, I do.
Thank you. I helped do it, so I remember it.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, what I did is I put a proposal in front of you for $5,000 for the MPB. Basically, it's for the coordinator position, and for $100 for the Black Hills RC&D as a voting member, which you've been a voting member since it started. So just kind of a rundown of where we're at. We have all of the counties in Black Hills that are partners in this program. We've received this year so far $113,000 through Black Hills RC&D. Pennington County received $50,000 of that. Lawrence County received $50,000. And the rest has been, for the coordinator position. But, over the years, you guys have been a member of the Mountain Pine Beetle and supporting that since 2012, 2013, 2014, 2015. We're looking at, would be for 2016. So, our strategy hasn't changed a lot. We've had, since 1996 to 2010, there's been about 430,000 acres in the Black Hills affected. If you look at the Black Hills and you look at other western states, something very similar, our ecoregion is very similar to Yellowstone. It's about 2.2 million acres. So I kind of refer to that a lot because they're very similar. We don't have the mountains that they have, but we have some of the same impacts that they have. Since 2010, we've had 111,000 new acres impacted by mountain pine beetles, so that leaves us at about 540,000 acres. We've seen a reduction in the last 2 years. Not a huge reduction, but we haven't seen the big increases that we've seen right in the beginning of 2010. So my request is the same as last year, and if you have any questions, certainly give them to me.
You might just expand a little bit, Denny, on the role of the coordinator.
Okay, David Tom is a coordinator. He retired from the Forest Service, so he's done an excellent job. He's gotten all of the counties involved. He's gotten industry involved. We have Black Hills Forest Resources involved. We have Black Hills RC&D, which is a 6-county area of resource conservation and development districts. We submitted the Best Project of the Year award to the state, and we received that. The Mountain Pine Beetle Program did for South Dakota. I submitted it to the region and to the national, and we didn't get it last year. But hopefully this year I know now what we need to submit to probably be on target with what we did last year. But this has been a great partnership, and Scott Guffey has been a tremendous asset to this program. He's done tremendous, you know, and we really appreciate the involvement of the commission. Nancy's been on the board, and Chairman Peterson has been there too. So, you know, we really appreciate your hard work, your interest, and your coordination also, so.
Okay, any questions for Denny?
No question, I've got a comment. Are you going to get, or was it Dave Thome?
Yes, sir.
Get him to coordinate with the Rainbow family? Maybe they can give us some help cutting some trees and,
I'll bring that up to him.
okay.
No kidding. But,
No, they put their arms around the trees, they don't cut them down.
yeah.
They live in them,
Shucks. Sorry.
like the pine beetle. They can be
Squeeze the bugs
rainbow
out of
pine
them, is that
beetles.
what you're saying, Commissioner Busker?
Huh? Tree
Squeeze,
huggers? Yeah.
squeeze the bugs out of them?
Squeeze them out, yeah,
But there might be a renegade or two, give him a chainsaw, it might help us.
that's right.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You have a great day.
You too.
Just as this is not to do with what Denny said, but to do with what you said, George. When the Golden Coyote trucks were here, they loaded up a bunch of those pine beetle slash piles and so on and took them down to the reservation so that they could use them for firewood. So there is some of that going on.
And I think they're doing that again this year.
Well, they did do it this year,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, I think we're kind of just taking people in the order that they arrived, and are you next?
Black Hills Works is, yeah.
Introduce yourself and we'll interrogate you.
Okay. Good morning. I'm Colleen Ronning. I'm Vice President of Community Support Services at Black Hills Works. Thank you for listening to our proposal this morning. We, as you know, are a local agency who provides services and supports to about 580 people with disabilities in Rapid City and Pennington County. We have a staff of approximately 569 employees who work hard to provide supports to people with disabilities within our city and county. The proposal that was submitted will cover several different areas. One is filling transportation shortfalls to get people to be out in the community more, to be included as part of our great city and county, and also to promote jobs for people. That takes a lot of work and it takes some transportation, and that is not completely covered by state funding. The second one is employment supports to help people hold a community job. That would be for our employees and the people that we support to be able to get to work, and then our employees to support them on the job. So that's a big emphasis, not only in our agency, but across the nation. So we want people employed as much as possible. You may have seen some advertising on TV to that effect. The third area is residential repairs and maintenance for the houses where affordable rents do not allow for much money for the maintenance and repair. Several of our group homes are getting older, and we're constantly trying to maintain them in order to be good neighbors to the other people in the city. And then the fourth request is for crisis supports to help people who are going through a mental illness crisis or behavioral types of intervention that's needed, we've had to add additional staff because actually the frequency and intensity of some of the behavior for the folks that we're providing services to has really increased. I've been at Black Hills Works for 42 years, and there's really been kind of a shift in some of the folks who we provide supports to, with several more people who have the need for more behavioral intervention and psychotropic medication and those kinds of things. We try and be good partners with the resources and the medical professionals within Rapid City, work closely as partners with them in order to help maintain people to stay in Rapid City and not necessarily go to an institution where the costs are greatly increased. So I would appreciate your support of our proposal. If you have any questions, I hope I can answer those for you.
I'd just like to thank you for what you do for our community through Black Hills Workshop. My nephew is in your employment program, Jesse, and what a big difference. With everything he does in his life, that has made a huge difference. So I appreciate that, what you do for the community, but living proof that, seeing through my nephew, that you guys and what you do is awesome. So thank you.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Any other questions or comments?
It's good to see you again.
If not, thank you for being here.
All right, thank you.
Okay, I'm kind of losing track of who came next.
Did that couple or, yeah?
Yep.
Come on up.
Yep,
Come
the
on
guy
up.
with the hat guy.
I'm Eldon Helms from East Pennington County Conservation District. I'm the chairman down there at this time. I guess we want to thank you for the support you've been giving us in the last years. I don't know, we've trying to use the money wisely, and we're trying to help. We've been helping try to plant new shelter belts in the area for livestock protection. We've given a grant for that. We've got a grant right now that we put bugs out to kill Canadian thistles and stuff like that so they don't have to spray, and in certain areas where you can't spray. And we do a lot for the education of the children to keep them involved in learning what agriculture and conservation is for us. And I guess that's about all I've got to say, if you have any questions.
Any questions? I'll just point out that the East Pennington and the West Pennington, the divisions at Cheyenne River. Just in case.
Yeah, we're east of the Cheyenne River.
And
so
they essentially both do same general programs.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We have a few different areas we cover, but they don't up here, and they do that we don't, so they have more trees up here.
I see. Okay. Any questions?
But you got trees this year. It looks like you've got a grant for planting more trees this year. Yeah.
If there are no questions,
Thank you.
thank you for being here.
For coming
thank you.
in.
Okay. Who's next?
Yes.
We're kind of taking them in the order that people came in, but we've got enough now that I've lost track, so if...
Morning.
Morning.
Bruce Rampelberg, Development Director for Black Hills Vision, among a few other things. Boy, you know what a difference a year makes. Last year, look at this. This is great.
Yeah, I know.
Offices, my gosh, you guys
You
are
couldn't
coming up in
find
the
us
world.
last year down in the basement, could you?
I know. I walked in the door and I haven't, appeared before you guys. You feel like, well, where are they?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'm here this morning to present a request from Black Hills Vision, which is basically the same as last year. I think you've got a lot of information that we provided to Holly, and I think she's probably passed it out to everybody. But I just wanted to kind of highlight a few things, and I'm going to start off kind of with, if you don't mind me kind of handing these up, but this is the current board of directors that we have right now. And over the years, we've had, many people on the board, the commission have been involved with Black Hills Vision. There's always been a person on the board of directors of Black Hills Vision. I know Nancy's taken her turn, and now Deb is there. And we really appreciate the support that they bring and the others have brought along in the future as well, in the past, as well. So this is kind of our board. You can see there'll be a couple of changes on there. Mayor Lip from Custer will be off, and Mayor Carson will be on. And of course, Mayor Quaker will be off, and Mayor Ellender will be placed on there after they are sworn in. We have our annual meeting coming up now in July 9th, and we'll be re-electing our directors and our board officers at that time, and doing kind of a review of the programs that we're in. The next sheet, if you guys are, I can't tell where you're at, but this one kind of shows the past, the achievements, and I think you're all pretty much familiar with those, so I'm not going to spend any real time on those. And the next page, actually in my case it's on the back side, I'm not sure where yours would be, but it shows the amounts that we have committed or approved by the board for 2015. And I wanted to just kind of briefly go through these a little bit. I didn't provide a lot of data background on this, but in the interest of saving trees instead of killing them. If you take a look, I think everybody's familiar with Ellsworth Development Authority. We know that right now they've got a $600,000 budget to continue to deal with the encroachment issues at either end of the runway. As you know, I was on that board. I resigned when I was sworn into the Senate, so I haven't really kept real close track of it, but I do talk with Pat Burchell, who's the current chairman, and Scott Landgeth, who's the CEO. They're looking at some matching funds. The governor's matched $300,000. He's basically, and they can generate about $100,000 in income between the things that they do, the land that they sell, and then operating that wastewater treatment plant. And they need about $200,000 a year. Because it's kind of a region-wide and even a statewide impact upon us, it seemed like it was the right thing to do was to go through Black Hills Vision rather than trying to set up another organizational structure and another campaign and that kind of thing. So we wrapped this into this. This has happened a year ago. The governor, I spent a lot of time with Pat Costello and the governor talking about what's fair about this. And candidly, I couldn't argue with him that the local community needs to come up, the local region, let me put it back up, needs to come up with some money to support that. The second thing is this Rushmore region marketing, and you probably have heard a little bit about that, but about 3 years ago, the professionals who are marketing our different communities said we need to have more critical mass. So as we're talking to people, we present an entire region rather than just an individual town. And of course, many of the smaller communities up in our region really don't have a lot of things that they can offer, a lot of benefit. And they also knew that we aren't really marketing ourselves very well because we are kind of piecemealing it without a lot of money. So they put together a plan for $125,000 for 4 years, a total of $500,000. We're in the third year of that right now. We'll be looking at, they'll be coming in with a request for this in June for actually the last iteration of this. And the reason it's 137.5 is they didn't spend about $12,500 a year ago, and they asked that that be included in the 2015 budget. But it's 125 is kind of the commitment for 4 years that we made. The next one is the dues to Ports of Plains. We're all familiar with Heartland Express. Now, of course, the thing to do is go from Belle Fourche up to Canada, and that's called the Teddy Roosevelt Expressway. This Ports of Plains organization is kind of the overriding, and what happens is we pay dues to the $225,000 a year. And because, again, it's a region-wide expense purpose, it felt like it was best to put it in Black Hills Vision, and that's where we have it right now. Linda Raby, Blaze Emerson represent our region on that particular board right now. And again, that's a long-term thing. They lobby the federal and the state people to come up with money to complete that expressway. The next one is the Center for Theoretical Underground Physics. We all know that we're trying to expand the use of the lab, Sanford Lab. These folks are kind of a loose association of people from around the world that study different aspects of particle physics. Now, I could give you a real good overview of that. I'm kidding. Right over my head. Anyway, they met here last year. There are 11 organizations that sponsor this. They come in with a number of people. Out-of-pocket money that they spend is going to be between $250,000 and $300,000. They're going to be renting space in Lead, Deadwood. They're going to rent a classroom up in Lead. They're going to be involved with the mine up there. And so we felt that it was appropriate that we be one of the 11 that would support that. Again, it's a region-wide organization, impact, I mean. The next thing is this international computer programming competition. This was started a number of years ago, but the United States is one region. The whole United States is one region. And there's 100 regions throughout the world. They were in Morocco this last year. They're going to, I think, be in Greece the coming year. And they'll be here in 2018. And the concept is these will be people from around the world. It's actually sponsored by IBM that will be coming into Rapid City to compete. We'll get a lot of visibility from it. There'll be, again, it's a region-wide, I think, effort. We could talk more about that. It's a $5,000 amount. It's not a lot, but I think it's important. The Air Service Partnership Matching Grant, I think everybody was familiar when we put this together 10 years ago. We were wanting to improve the number of seats, increase. And Larry Thompson at the time was chairman. We came up with that money, and they used it very well. We have more seats today. This particular grant is in cooperation with Delta Airlines, and it would be a direct flight from Rapid City to Atlanta. So I'm talking to people as I'm going about the business of developing this Black Hills Vision. It's amazing to me how many people say airline transportation is critical for me and my business, to be able to bring people in here, for me to get out of here. So to the extent that we can be successful with this direct line and get enough ridership, if you will, that people will continue to use it, it's a real plus for our community. Actually, that number will be closer to 150. Linda Raby has raised the money from Central Reservations, Black Hills Badlands and Lakes, and a couple of others. But that was the commitment we made, and the federal government has a small airport fund that's available. And this $325,000 that they're coming up with comes out of that fund. So we competed, we applied, and we won. You guys maybe read the article in the paper about Alex Bockwith, what a brilliant young man he is, going to school mines. The last one is workforce development. You probably remember the governor putting together an emphasis on this, developing 6 regions. He was here actually last fall to kind of roll out and cast a challenge. We actually put together a program. Actually, Blaze Emerson and Ben Stowe put it together. Went down and competed with others. We were awarded as a region a $70,000 grant from the governor. It has to be a matching grant, and so they've gone out and raised about $30,000 to match. Needed another $40,000 to match this program. And basically, what it will boil down to is aligning a communication method between the K-12 and the tech schools and the businesses, putting together an advisory council so that people will be talking more about how do we take our kids. We worry a lot about kids going to college, as well we should. But what about those kids in the middle somewhere that we don't spend a lot of time thinking much about? And this is an attempt to have business come alongside education and give kids an idea of what they could be doing once they graduate, and especially if they develop these skills along the way, and what they can begin to plan for. I think it's where we need to go. We all know we have a problem finding qualified workers, and that's not going to change. So I think we have to make sure that we train our kids as well as we can as we bring them up. The other slide that I have for you is this one that shows the different county and city involvement. This is what we're at as this year. Right now, I am in the process of presenting like this to all the counties and all of the cities. So I'm on their agenda, and I've made a couple of them already. I've been in the city of Custer, been in the county of Custer, and I'm progressing throughout the summer in June, July, and August to ask them to continue to support us. There are a number of them that are not on here that have been in the past. So you can see then that I think that Pennington County kind of fits pretty well within the budget. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of counties that have chosen to support us, but the ones that have are doing a pretty good job, I think, given their comparative size and what they do. And then, of course, you look at the cities. Again, you've got Custer and Spearfish that have been true supporters over the years. And again, I'll be going back to them. I have no reason to think that they won't continue the support that they've given us in the past. And the last 2 slides that I've provided for you in the PowerPoint show you the corporate involvement. And what I've done is shown the larger ones right now, and I've got a number of others. Actually, we have about, at this stage of the game, we have around 80-odd organizations and businesses that are supportive. I've got another 38, I think it is, that I haven't talked to yet, that I'll be talking to over the next few months. And I've got about 30 or 40 that I call pending. I made the ask, and now I've got to go back and beat them up. So I need to bring Guido with me. But this shows you then basically who all is supporting this right now. You can kind of see by some of the people that are not on here yet. I just haven't got a chance to talk to them at this point. But I do have a list of those that declined, so if you want to know, let me know, and I'll give it to you. And the last thing that I have is this financial statement, and I think you guys have all seen that. I want to point out to you that this is an accrual-based financial statement. I'm not, I can't explain it to you, but it's an accrual-based financial statement rather than a cash-based. So if you take a look at the total cash and equivalents on here, and you go back to take a look at the slide that, I guess I didn't total that, but this slide here is showing the 200,000 and the 137. Those are all commitments, and they will be paid for by the cash that we have on hand. So this isn't cash that's just laying around. This is cash that's matched off against commitments. And so my goal now is to continue to raise money for 2015, but also begin to help people plan for 2016, especially the government agencies such as yours. And then in the August timeframe, that's when the bigger companies start to plan for their 2016 expenses. And I've got a lot of connections out there, and we'll be having more. So this is what we're here today to ask, is if you would continue your involvement at the $10,000 level, continue your support by having a person assigned to be on our board of directors and come and vote and help us figure things out. I think my intent is to be completely transparent and open. There's nothing that I can think of that we would want to have a secret. So if you have some questions, let me know. I'm glad to provide the information. We aren't really in the business of the professional job that the professionals are in economic development. We're more in the business of coming up with funding that will help them. For example, right now I know that we'll have an application we'll be considering from Belfouche to do some work up in their new industrial plant area. They're trying to do a transload facility up there and need a little help. Right now we're talking to people down in Hot Springs. There's Shedco, they call it Southern Hills Economic Development Company Corporation. They've got some real problems down there, folks, and I think possibly you folks probably all know that. They need a little bit of help, and sometimes just the moral equivalent of support is, not moral, but the equivalent of support that people want to help them is as important as the money, because they've kind of been outliers for many, many years. And I think they're coming along very nicely, but they're a little late to the game, frankly. But anyway, those are two things we're looking at right now. We've got a little other requests that are kind of hanging around out there that we'll be talking with people about. But my point is this: we have a vibrant organization that has a board of directors. I am not personally on the board. I don't have a vote. I'm the development director, and so I don't get paid by commission or anything like that, but I do get paid. But I think that we've got good representation, and of course we're always looking for people that can move the game forward and be players, and I think we have that. So that's my request for you today. Do you have any questions for me? Thoughts?
Could you go through that again, please?
Yeah. Can I repeat the last part?
He has papers.
Well, you've got an awful lot of information here, and you guys all know me, you all know where I live, and if you have a question, I'm pretty easily contacted. So, Nancy, I got to talk to you. I need to find the name of that landscape person that did your work. Anyway, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, questions?
Any questions?
Thanks, Bruce.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
You too. Okay, who's next?
Let's see.
Been waiting a while.
Eileen.
He's over here.
Thank you.
Boy, the temperature is nice.
Lower, isn't it?
Thank you, thank you very much, Ms. Holly.
I'm Heidi Bell-Giese with Helpline Center. And for anyone who's not familiar with us, we're a United Way agency. We've been in the Black Hills about 10 years, and our main program has been the 211 information line. That's a free 24-hour service people can dial, and they always get a live person on the phone who can answer questions and refer them to social service agencies, nonprofits, or government programs that can help them. Really with everything from basics like food and shelter to referrals for treatment programs or counseling to questions like where do I register to vote or how do I renew my driver's license. A little bit of background on 211. About 90% of the country has access to a 211 service in their state. In South Dakota, about 55% of residents have access now. And that includes Sioux Falls, Yankton, Brookings, and then the 6 Black Hills counties, Pennington, Lawrence, Meade, Butte, Fall River, and Custer. So what this is that I handed you there is, it's called our Community Trends Report, and it's basically a summary of all the calls we had to 211 last year from the Black Hills counties. And there's a stack of some more back there if anybody's interested. But if you look in the center, you can see that our total calls were down quite a bit, which we expected. In 2013, we had 9,706 calls, but almost 2,000 of those were directly connected to Winter Storm Atlas. So we kind of served as kind of a clearinghouse for information in the weeks and the months after that storm. The number of calls is still going up though, and if you look there to the right, you can see Rapid City and Pennington County makes up, the vast majority of the calls to 211. Our callers last year ranged in age from 5 to 97. I know we have had 10-year-olds call looking for food for their families. And in the past, most of our calls were information calls from people who knew what they needed. They just were looking for an answer. Can you tell me what the summer hours are for the boys club? Or where's the women's shelter in Sturgis or something like that. Referral calls were up this year, and those are calls from people who know they need some help, but they don't know where to go. There are a lot of great programs out there. You will hear from some of them, but if people don't know they're there, they can't use them, and that's kind of the beauty of 211. I just wanted to share one example of a referral call because I think it's a good explanation of kind of how 211 can help people. We had an older lady call a while back whose husband had been hospitalized, and they had an adult son who had lived with them for years. He had severe depression, he couldn't work, didn't take his medication. And when the husband ended up hospitalized, I think it was kind of a wake-up call for the parents, that they were worried about what was going to happen to their son down the road. So she called 211, not really knowing where to start, and the call specialist, listened, was supportive, and then gave her several suggestions. She referred her to some psychiatric services for the son, suggested she contact Social Security and get him signed up for disability, told her how she could get him signed up for health insurance under the Affordable Care Act, and then also gave her some information about NAMI, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, to be a support to the woman and her husband. So I think that's just a good example of somebody who doesn't know where to start, and by making that one phone call, she was able to get some concrete things she could do to improve the situation. All the calls we get are confidential, but they are categorized and documented, and on the left side in here you can see basic needs make up the bulk of the reason people call 211. Food, shelter, transportation questions, utilities. That stays pretty constant. Another thing that our call center does is we answer the statewide suicide crisis line, and that's an 800 number that can be called from anywhere in the state, but it all comes into the same call center. Last year we had 380 suicide-related calls from the Black Hills. In 2013, we had 146. So that's a 260% increase, I think it is. Pretty big jump, and just kind of an indication that that's a pretty needed service. We also added a new program this past year called Volunteer Connections. Right now it is being funded through a grant from the Kurovich Foundation. We're really excited about this. It's basically a way for agencies who need volunteers to connect with people who want to volunteer. Agencies go into a database and they list what they need volunteers for, whether it's 30 people for a one-day fundraiser or maybe an ongoing need for mentors or tutors. And then anybody who's interested in volunteering can go to our website, which is helplinescenter.org, and they can search for things that interest them, fit their schedule. If you want to volunteer with a group of people or with kids, there's a way to sort of filter out which ones would work best for that. Agencies, a lot of them really rely on the volunteers, and so they're very excited about it, and it's really met with a great response. And so we're really, hopeful too that that's going to kind of increase awareness of 211 at the same time. So we do request funding from all the government entities in the area to help support what we do and the services that we can provide to your residents. And so I would be glad to answer any questions you might have. That's kind of the nutshell version, I guess, of Helpline Center and 211.
It's a nice addition, the volunteer connection.
Yeah, that's really been popular already.
I think you do a great job, especially suicide. I think taking those calls are really important. I just want to point out that even nationwide, the least amount of calls you have are for employment. They're looking for aid, but they're not looking for employment evidently.
Oh, the national numbers.
And-
Well, we do.
And in the Black Hills.
We do refer to, Career Learning Center and Job Service for various things if people are looking for help with job skills and that type of thing. I guess another thing that's sort of related to the suicide thing I would mention too is another thing we put out is the behavioral health guide, which is a list of all the mental health providers in the Black Hills and the services they provide and the types of payment they take, and that's been really useful, I know, to a lot of agencies and stuff too. And that's another project we do with Procuravich.
Nice. Do some good
Any
work.
other questions or comments?
Was there any interface with Crisis Care Center?
We refer people there frequently, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, and maybe you guys that were on here last year can help me remember, but didn't we talk a little bit about doing some funding for your organization through emergency management because they use them for emergencies? There was some conversation.
Yeah, we have done that as well, and, in the past, Dustin has included some funding for us in his budget, which I guess, we've kind of gone around about how to approach that, but, I mean, it's almost a separate function really for the emergency situation versus just the ongoing community needs, I guess.
Yeah.
So he doesn't fund you, or he does at this point?
He did fund us, he did have some funding in there for us last year, not as much as in previous years.
And how much was that? Do you remember? ma'am?
I want to say it was a couple thousand, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, maybe 4.
I think we should verify whether that's in his budget and stuff now, just to make sure we
Yeah.
don't cross
Ms.
over.
Holly, can we verify that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Holly.
My mind is remembering 4,500.
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah.
We can verify for sure.
Thank you, Ms. Holly.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? If not, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, who's next?
Carol, you keep them in control out
Our
there.
GIS guy.
Thanks for keeping track.
She's been here the longest. It's nice to see you at the city at one time. Just kidding.
Try not to cause too much trouble.
How are you?
Good.
Introduce yourself and tell us what you want us to hear.
Good morning. My name is Don Jarwin, and I'm the city-county GIS coordinator. For the last 18 years, the city and county have coordinated and gone together on establishing and maintaining the GIS for both systems. For that whole period, the county has contributed $100,000 a year, and the city makes up the difference. Our budget is going up this year due to some personnel reclassifications and a promotion that we had to do to keep somebody from going to Black Hills Power. So our budget is up a little bit, up to about $345,000 this coming year. Normally, it's around right around $300,000. Through that whole increase, though, it's the city that makes up the difference for that. The county's provided during this current fiscal year 64% of the budget, or rather the city has. And for next year, with the budget going up on the city side, the city will provide 71% of the budget. Also, not shown in the budget is we do special projects with orthophotography and elevation contours and things like that. We have a project underway right now. It's a $200,000 project. 81% of that money, I think is 81%, is federal money from the MPO. The GIS budget, we're paying about $21,000 of that this year. We have about $3,400 in capital funds in GIS, and then the engineering budget is paying the rest of the match that we have to have for that. We do those projects as often as we can gather money, and that money is usually gathered on the city side.
What's the federal project you're doing, Ron, that you're paying 81% of?
What's that again?
What's the federal project that you're doing?
We're collecting orthophotography, LiDAR, which is elevation points. From that, we'll have contours made, and we'll update our building footprints that we've had done in the past. The other thing we're getting this time is oblique photography for the Pennington County part of the MPO. And that's, if you go to Bing Maps, you can look at things from 4 different angles from the air. So that's part of the new project and something new
Nice.
for us.
Nice.
The other thing that we do as a city and a county service plus for the public is we provide Rapid Map. We get about 2,500 unique visitors a month on Rapid Map. 37% of the Rapid Map use is actually outside the city and county government. So that's the public using the system. The actual biggest single user of Rapid Map is Pennington Title. Of course, when you add all the city and county people that are using it every day, they surpass Pennington County Title by a lot, but the single biggest user is Pennington County Title, so we know it's getting used out there. As far as what we're planning in the future, Rapid Map, the interface is a bot interface, and it takes a lot of work to set it up. Unfortunately, Microsoft has deprecated Silverlight, which is, it's called a plugin that goes and helps the interface to work. So that's going away, so we're ending up rewriting Rapid Map. It'll look about the same as what you see now, but it's going to take about 5 months to rewrite that, and we're in the process of doing that right now. So that's pretty much our large project coming up in the next half year or so.
Wow.
So, any questions?
How long you been with this program?
I was the first one hired about almost 17 years ago. The program actually started before me. The planning department at the city they were the main people in charge of the program, and it ran for about 1.5 years with planning and setup before I got here. And the budget was, there was already money when I showed up.
And when did you guys become joint with the county?
At that time, it was a joint project from the very beginning.
Nice.
And it's the only joint project in the state that I know of. Even Sioux Falls, they work with Minnehaha, but they're not a joint system. They started joint and then they split out. But they work with Minnehaha and Lincoln counties. But so we're essentially the only joint system in the state.
Thank you, Don.
You work for the city.
I do.
You're
yes.
reporting officials you're reporting officials in the city.
That's correct.
Okay.
We're in the Community Resources Department. We spend we in GIS we have 3 people, and we spend the tech spends most of her time maintaining the roads and the address points and things like that for the whole system countywide. She also spends a lot of time working with fire departments and emergency services. Our analyst, Angela, spends most of her time working on Rapid Map, maintaining it. Now she's rewriting it. And she does analysis for, different things. And then I sort of do the management and pretty much play cleanup on the other projects that we do. We are the county GIS. And for example, the lady in equalization that does the parcels, that puts the parcels into the system, was gone for 5 weeks. So for 4 of those 5 weeks, I was the person that did that. Also at this point, county planning has had some turnover over the long term. They've had turnover, so they lost their GIS expertise. So we are the ones that they've asked to put the zoning changes into the system. And I'll be working with Jerry on that this afternoon. And then we'll do the training for their people to get them back up to speed.
Any point in time where Rapid Map will ever get real accurate?
It depends.
He wants you to get those pins on those properties exactly right with those red lines. Would you do that, Don?
We are trying. We actually have software to do that. We've been using this new software for 2 years, and we had problems in the data conversion. The software company actually has our data right now, and they're building a tool. When the conversion happened, the data sort of blew up. If you think of a survey, you have certain courses that go around the outside of the perimeter. When the conversion happened, it duplicated a whole bunch of those courses. So we have, of the roughly 50,000 parcels in the county, probably 40,000 have those extra courses. So the software company is helping us fix that. Once that's all fixed, this new software we're using allows us to do survey adjustments to the parcels. It's never going to be survey quality like a plat because it's not surveyed in. But we should, this system will allow us to take all of these parcels that are not in the right spot and in mass in different parts of the county, adjust them into where at least it looks right.
So maybe in time we can get down to 1 or 2 feet deviation versus 10 or 20
That's
feet
correct.
deviation.
That's correct. We have areas that are right on, and we have areas that are 25 feet off that we know of. Those areas we tend to just redraw completely as we get the time. But with this software, we're hoping that over time we'll incrementally increase the accuracy of the whole system.
It's a combination of software problems and input.
That's correct.
Operator problems.
That's correct. We're hoping the city is looking into doing online applications for development. And part of that process is what we're hoping to introduce into that process is a digital plat submissions. So we can just pull the lines right out of the plats and have it, instead of having equalization, type everything back in to create the plats. If we can just pull that line work out and paste it into our system, we expect that to be a big time savings. And also, it should increase the accuracy too.
Can you tell he
Thank
doesn't
you.
know his job, George?
Pardon me?
Can you tell he doesn't know his job? Don is amazing, the things that he's done for the county and the city and the citizens of Rapid City and Pennington County. So worked with Don, and he's actually also a very nice man. So thank you, Don.
Okay. Any other questions?
Any other questions? I do have a question. The sheet you handed out, your budget deal, and then on our cover page in our book, it says GIS contract.
That's the budget that's submitted to the city, and the way that it works is that the city bills the county for $100,000 in a monthly installment, and that's how. So the budget, that budget is the total budget. It's $345,000, and then the county basically reimburses the city. Is how it was set up at the beginning.
Payments.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions?
Thanks, Don.
Not? Have a good day. Okay, Carolyn, who's next?
Front porch is up.
Our audience coordinator. Pretty skirt.
You have the papers. It? Great. Well, I guess I'll go without my papers. I usually do best without them anyways. Well, you have copies of them anyways, so. A couple new faces, although you're not real new to me, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if gentleman here isn't real familiar with us, just as a summary, we work with law enforcement, we work with the sheriff's office to respond as a team.
Introduce yourself and tell us who you represent.
Well, sorry, I'm Stephanie Schweitzer-Dixon, and I'm with the Front Porch Coalition. And we work, our loss team works with the Pennington County Sheriff's Office and the deputies, coroner's office specifically, to respond to deaths by suicide that happen here in the county. And when the deputies, who are coroners here, determine that those deaths are by suicide, they call our loss team specifically.
to go and help the families who are dealing with that loss to suicide. And our team members go and we help those families get through that. We help them. The last mom that I helped said to me, "What do we do now?" And most of the time prior to this loss team forming, people I talk to now who never were helped come up to me and say, and have stumbled through the system and have stumbled through the mental health care system and have stumbled through life with drugs and alcohol addictions, mental health problems. Some have lost their jobs, some have been unemployed, some have had a raft of problems. And when a mom says to me, "What do we do now?" I help her get through that. I refer her to the crisis care center if they need it. I get her into support groups. I get her into counseling. I just help her through life. And I have kept in touch with her over the past 2 months to the point that she said to me, things are going okay. And she doesn't come up to me like somebody from 10, 20 years ago and says to me, "I can't keep a job. I don't know what to do. Can you help my son or daughter who's still alive get help through addiction?" So this might be after a death, and it's called postvention, but it is prevention, and it saves subsequent lives. And I don't stand over the bodies of other family members in the future. And I'm sure you've talked to Sheriff Tome, or you will talk to Sheriff Tome, and he'll talk about the success of the program and how beneficial it is, even for his deputies, because many times I will talk with those officers who have to pick up those bodies and have to help the family members who either witnessed it or as officers who witnessed it happen and try to deal with that. And it's extremely difficult. Additional prevention that we do and additional ways that we will be spending the dollars that you have given us and hopefully will continue to give us are through additional prevention services that we provide in the community, in addition to the other referral types of services that we provide in the community, because we do, similar to what 211 does, we do the referrals to other counseling services and to the crisis care center, which you will hear about in a moment. We continue to work with law enforcement on another program in the schools. We do a lot with that, with young people who tell me similar things like, "I don't want to live anymore." Some kids will say to me, they'll talk about abuse, they'll talk about being bullied, they'll talk about tough things that are going on at home. Some kids will leave me notes about nobody cares, and I've tried to kill myself numerous times, and I can share other kinds of stories that I'm sure not everybody wants to hear about right now, but we'll get those kids help. We'll save their lives. We'll get them connected with other resources. And we work with law enforcement to do that kind of program in the high schools. I've helped high schools set up programs within their schools so that they can work with their kids, so that they can be connected with their kids. We do trainings in the community to educate first responders, mental health providers, people such as yourself, parents, people who are with people all the time, because we all know that people go to other people, friends go to friends. They don't just say, "Well, I'm going to make an appointment with a psychiatrist today because that's where I want to go today. That's who I'm going to talk to today." That's not the way our society is. And that's really what needs to happen in our community, because we need to look out for each other. When I was here last time and I talked to you, I told you how tough my summer was last year and lost 7, 8 people. We, as the fact sheet that you have, we ended the year on a bad note. We ended it with 21 people dying by suicide. And, every year in the country, the numbers go up. This problem continues to increase. Every mental health agency is going to tell you that their numbers are going up. The number of people are going and getting help, or people are taking people in for help. And those of us in this field are working overtime and really dealing with a lot. And so far already this year, there have been 10, so we're halfway there. But, you know, we're all dedicated to this, and we're making sure that we help people. But again, they're not people that I've stood over before. So to ensure that we keep working at this, I ask for your help, I ask for your support. I thank you for your help, I thank you for your support, and I'm open to any questions that you have.
Stephanie, thanks. You have a very difficult job, and I admire you being so dedicated.
Well, thank you, I appreciate that. It's tough sometimes, but I'm still here and I love what I do, because when Mom tells me 2 months later that, you know, things are getting better and just keeps in touch with me, it's like,
this is
yeah,
worth it.
it's worth it.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Chair, just another one of those things, and this would really be for Holly. I think we did fund this through the sheriff's office. Can we just verify that? Because it doesn't show a breakdown of that funding, please. Just so we know how that works and we do it right this year. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks,
for being here.
Stephanie.
Morning.
Good morning.
My name is John Bushy. I'm the Executive Director for Dakota Plains Legal Services, and I'm here with Paul Branken, who is our Managing Attorney of our Rapid City office. And we're here on a request for an extension, a slight increase in our Pennington County Public Advocacy contract. You're probably all familiar with that. This is the first time I've been here. Usually it's been Paul that's appeared
14 years.
each year. And
I think I've seen him once or twice.
Don't say that's so energetic.
I seen that bingo.
basically,
That sounds
we're sort of the first alternative after the public defender's office when they have a conflict and someone else is needed for a court-appointed attorney for a criminal case, juvenile delinquent cases, or abuse and neglect, then we're the next ones in line. This year, we're requesting a $2,000 increase based on what our anticipated salary rates are, insurance costs, and that sort of thing. We did put in here a request that for renegotiation, our board had we have some board members who had some concerns about the possible increase in abuse and neglect cases. I don't know if you're familiar with the class action lawsuit against the local judges about the abuse and neglect cases, that they want attorneys, seeking to have attorneys appointed earlier at the 48-hour hearings. And I guess there was some concern on our part, or our board's part, that might increase the amount of work that we do if we're appointed at an earlier stage. So I guess our board sort of wanted to give the commissioners that caveat. We have a board meeting coming up in July where we're going to, I guess, talk about some of these issues. The other issue that they mentioned was about not billing for civil cases. That's, I guess, totally within the commissioner's capacity there. We have some board members that are concerned where we have abuse and neglect cases that are civil cases, although oftentimes they're tied in with a criminal case, but they're civil cases that legal services mission generally is a civil mission, and they were somewhat concerned that ultimately our civil clients, we do participate in the billing because we give that information to the commissioners, and the commissioners, the court does end up billing or putting liens against the property of those clients. And so we kind of pass that on as concerns that our board has. But apart from that, based on our costs and assuming things work the way they normally do, we'd be requesting a $2,000 increase. Our staff, we have 2 full-time attorneys, a paralegal, and we do have some assistance from answering phones and that sort of thing. And under Legal Services Corporation regulations, we can't fund any of that work with legal services funds because this contract work does involve criminal work and is totally separate. And so essentially what I'm saying is this contract funds that unit totally, and they're doing that work themselves, all of that work themselves, and we can't supplement that with LSC funds. So to the extent we end up coming up short, which we did a couple of years, we end up supplementing that with non-LSC funds, which is sort of a rainy day fund type situation. This is my first time here. I don't know if Paul wants to add anything or anybody has any questions for me or Paul.
Any questions?
How long is that contract for, Paul?
It ends December 31st.
December. So you're looking at next year, you're negotiating for next year.
You know, and again, we met with Judge Pfeiffer over the Van Hunnick decision is what it's called, and he's kind of informed us that until the United States Supreme Court says something, the procedures in the Seventh Circuit aren't changing. And so I don't know if there'll be any extra work, and truly, the 48-hour hearing, if it changes to the way Judge Viking lays it out, it's just basically a preliminary hearing.
Yeah. But I think that's doable. The not billing form is a problem.
I told him not to bring it up, but we brought it up. Because the reality is it's not going to happen, and I know that. And I'm a taxpayer in Pennington County, and people should be paying for their,
Well, I addressed it because we put it in there.
But it's in there, and
We
it's in
have
the
some
letter.
board members that have that concern, so.
But I know the reality of that one.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So after your board meeting, are you thinking you would come back with some changes in a contract to present to us?
I don't anticipate that. We have not had a board meeting since the due date to put this together and discuss this with a number of board members as to, sort of what their concerns are, and it is a relatively new court case. So we can't, Paul and I can't bind the board today and, sign a
that's right.
contract
I
if it were something we
understand
would sign today. We need to go back to them and make sure.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
But
is
in
it after
preparation
the
for
board
that,
meeting?
Madam Commissioner, we had met with one of our attorney board members, Jim
Okay.
Leach, and in turn, we met with Judge Pfeiffer, and we discussed these issues. And their feelings are, Judge Pfeiffer's feelings on, for the example of non-billing is the same as the reality of it's not going to not happen.
So then what I'm wondering, because the contract is done at the end of this year, are you going to come back and present the same contract, or are you going to, I'm wondering if you were going to change it after your board meeting, since the current contract ends the end of this year?
I doubt that. I think I think they understand the realities about the no billing. I think the only possible thing that at this point would be a factor of the board if for some reason a couple things happened, the county decided, wait a minute, we're going to implement Judge Viking's decision. We're going to appoint attorneys at an earlier stage, and that somehow resulted in a whole lot more work. I mean, right now, going to an earlier hearing shouldn't be a problem, but if it developed into a whole lot of appeals or something like that, where we're getting swamped, and we can see if that, we're talking hypotheticals, but if something like that happened where we saw, wait a minute, we can't go ahead at this pace with the new procedure, we're going to lose our shirts kind of thing, then, something like that, but I don't anticipate that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, did I detect a bit of defiance on the part of the Seventh Circuit relative to the federal courts?
No, the Seventh Circuit is not bound by a federal district court opinion. It would only be bound by an Eighth Circuit Court of Appeals opinion or a United States Supreme Court opinion. So it's kind of, here's what Judge Viking said, but, the case law is quite clear that does not bind a state court.
it may have to go through an appeal to the Eighth Circuit Court and the U.S. Supreme Court. I mean, that's, so far the judges or the parties that are defendants in that case have opposed it, have filed motions for reconsideration, and most likely are going to appeal it. So the chances that that's going to get implemented involuntarily, you know, by the judges very soon are slim. It could be that they'll have to do it eventually, but if it gets to the point where they're forced to do it as opposed to saying, let's go ahead, that could take years with different.
But at the moment, a bit defiant anyway.
If it goes to the Supreme Court, George, we won't be here.
Yeah.
I'll be with you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank you, no.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
This is a nice room, though.
Thanks.
It's got nice sound.
Okay, next.
He's always
Here, bingo.
Hi, Matt.
He's at bingo.
Good day, I'm Matt McGrath with the Ellsworth Task Force. I'm here to request our annual $25,000, which you've been very good to provide for us over the past 3-4 years. And yesterday I called Holly. It's my first time here talking to you people, and thanked her for giving me an hour from 11 to 12, and she smartly told me that I would have from 5 minutes, if I'm lucky, but I could hand out stuff. Well, I can't waste my time handing out stuff, so I thought I would have it delivered to your doorstep this morning. I don't know if any of you have all read the paper today.
Yeah, saw that.
I have a copy in case anybody hasn't, but it's basically Ellsworth Gets Protection in Defense Bill, which is basically just the Senate passing something that is good for us, but has to get compromised with the House and has to get past a veto from the President. And the bottom line here is that until our country gets used to living within its means and spending only the money it has, a BRAC is probably going to be staring us in the face for years to come, and money's going to be harder and harder to come by. So the bottom line here is we're going to have to expect a lot of heat and a lot of trouble trying to keep Ellsworth open. And we've had, the task force has been around for the last 20 years. It's got a good record. We've worked with local government, the Pennington, the local county, the state, the federal governments, and we've worked with our federal legislators, worked with our local business people, and we've and organizations that are in the city. That posturing has paid off. We were successful in 2005 in stopping the BRAC, and we need to keep that effort going and working together. We've had a couple of major successes this past year, but they aren't to fruition yet. And the one that they talk about even in the paper today, and you've all heard about, is the PRTC, which is the Powder River Trading Complex. It's expected to come online this fall, and it's going to enhance our viability for Ellsworth. But I just had lunch with our new Colonel Boswell, our new 28th Wing Commander, on Wednesday, and we talked about the fact that any base can really control the Powder River Trading Complex. Ellsworth just happens to be the closest one, which makes a lot of sense, and it's going to be a big advantage for Ellsworth staying open that we're so close, but not for controlling the complex, because any base could do that. And the other big one is Ellsworth, or the B-1's going into global strike. And for those that make sense, the long-range strike bomber, which is the prize we want real bad, that's going to come probably in the middle of the next decade, is going to come through global strike. So we need B-1s to be in the command where these airplanes are going to come from. And that's going to happen this fall on October 1st.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
What airplanes are you talking? They're making a whole new, different kind, or are you talking
Yes,
drones?
the long-range strike bomber is the one that's the future platform for our bomber force. And the contractor is being awarded this summer, probably late summer. It'll be probably designed and built as this decade rolls on, and it probably won't be operational until the middle of the 20s.
So it's a man, it's a
Yes.
man-ran
Yeah,
plane, not a drone?
It's,
for-
that's the plan right now, even though they're designing things both ways.
Okay.
And I would expect, because of the funds and the longer duration, that there could be a lot of changes coming. And I would expect delays too, because that's just the nature of the beast with this, when we're spending this kind of money. I mean, they're talking about spending several hundred billion on the long-range strike bomber, so it's gonna be tough.
A new heavy bomber to B-52 is old, and it's time for a new heavy bomber.
I'm old too, I used to fly B-52s.
Did you?
Yes,
That's
I
pretty
did.
cool.
I was stationed out here at Ellsworth and stuff.
Nice.
And the last part of my little talk is, I like to say, is where the rubber meets the road. I know you guys are big into roads and everything, but when I said rubber meets the road, I'm talking about the over $300 million a year that Ellsworth puts into the local economy. And I think we have to really pay attention to that. If we were to lose Ellsworth, I think it's fair to say we wouldn't even be having these meetings, because there'd be no extra money to go around. Our tax base would be devastated, and this community would be in a bad situation. That's one of the big points that keeps us off of the BRAC, is that this community would suffer more than most in the country, because we're such a small population. We don't have a transportation infrastructure or an industrial base to bounce back and recoup the loss we'd have with the close of Ellsworth. So that's it's really critical. And the other thing I'd like to mention is that Ellsworth is one of 5 bomber bases left, and each one of those bomber bases has a task force, and each one of those task forces spends 4 to 5 times what the Ellsworth Task Force spends. So we do a lot of work and get a lot of accomplishments here with a small budget, and I hope that I can count on you to continue to help us, and it's just critical. I'd feel really bad if Ellsworth closed on my watch, and I hope everyone feels the same way.
The main thing, sir, and this is what I like about this committee, is the connections. It's all about the politics, and I truly believe it's the connections that this group makes in order to do what they do. And you got some good connections, and you know some good people, and that's what kept us on the radar in the first place. So I think you can't just drop that thinking later on you can pick that back up and start again. So just listening and going through this before with you guys, it's all about the connections that you guys keep and to move this forward and keep it where it's at.
If you talk to any of the newer bomb wing commanders that come in here, a lot of them have been stationed here, and they realize what an exceptional community relationship Ellsworth has with the community. And these are the very guys, that are gentlemen that make the decisions down the road to keep Ellsworth open. So it's something you can't just start up and stop. You have to continue and make it work as we go along.
It's how business is.
That's right.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You know, I think I brought it up before at other meetings that, and one of my pet peeves, I guess, is we have 4 or 5 different organizations in town basically doing the same thing. And isn't it a much better usage of our money to combine all of those? And you know, Mr. Snow will be here shortly, and that's be my presentation to him. But
So you're prepared.
here
Mr. Snow.
it is, and I've asked the question before. I need to know the differentiation between the South Dakota Ellsworth Authority and the task force. And when Senator Rampelberg was talking, he was saying, well, the authority gets some matching money from the state, and maybe, and the feds maybe. So wouldn't our money be better used to give it to them and have it matched 1 or 2 times?
My explanation of that would be that the Ellsworth Task Force is a nonprofit organization. The South Dakota Development Authority is a for-profit operation, so they wouldn't work too good together, merging them, even though we do work together. When Boeing donates money for Ellsworth functions, they send it to us because we're a nonprofit. We feed it to them, and we actually match it a lot of times. So the city and the county money, we donate to Ellsworth. The Ellsworth Task Force basically deals with three things, and most of what we'd like to say is inside the fence out there. We deal with the platform, which would be the B1 or any weapon system they have, and the other one would be keeping the base open, and the third one would be getting new platforms or new systems in, or weapon systems. Whereas the South Dakota Development Authority, because they're a for-profit, they buy land, they buy rights of way, they buy structures, they get into multi-million-dollar infrastructure projects, and they're a good organization, but we kind of work on there's overlap, but I'm not too sure combining them is going to gain us anything on matching funds, because we're really dealing with a pretty small budget when you look at the budget of the South Dakota Development Authority. And is that a little clearer what the different roles we have?
It does.
There's always synergy joining, but they've asked me to come over there, and they pay a lot higher wages, but I'm content where I'm at. I think we've got a good working relationship, and we've had success in the past, and I think we need to stick with that. And as things evolve, and as maybe Ellsworth becomes more secure with new weapon systems, and our budget process gets under control, maybe that's something we can deal with in the future. But as of right now, the consensus is we maintain the status quo.
Any other questions?
I do have a comment. I think I heard Matt say that if we kind of cut corners on plowing the road out there and put a little money in this pot, that'd be okay with you, right?
Well, you know what I would say about that, George, is that, when you consider $300+ million a year that Ellsworth puts in the local economy, they're building a lot of roads for us.
I understand, but I know where you live, and so I thought we'd just.
No, just don't do my road, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah. That was my point. Yeah.
And I really meant to preface all my comments by, obviously, we all up here like Ellsworth and want it to stay open and do whatever we can do to keep it open. It's like a lot of things, depends on how you do that. We may have different opinions on how we're going to do it, but we sure all want to do it.
Okay, if there's no further comments, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, next. We're going to keep going, so just come on up.
Good afternoon. My name's Randy Allen. I'm with Behavior Management Systems, and I'm here to thank you for your ongoing partnership with Behavior Management Systems to provide mental health and substance abuse services to the citizens of Pennington County as called for in statute and done on a per capita basis. We're here to ask for your continued support in the same amount as last year. I'll keep this short and just talk about how some of those dollars are used. In 10 months over the last year, we served a little over 3,000 residents of Pennington County. If you do the math there, that comes out to a little over $30 a piece for that. It's also helped match CDBG funds through the city. We have a full-time person who assists citizens of Pennington County in procuring medications that they couldn't get otherwise. And that comes out to about $90,000 a month that we get for that. It helps fund the Crisis Care Center. I was here about a month ago to talk about the Crisis Care Center. We had 1,468 admissions to the Crisis Care Center last year. Over 1,200 of those were Pennington County residents. Over 500 of those folks were diverted from an inpatient hospitalization at Rapid City Regional West. Over 300 of those folks were diverted from a trip to the emergency room. All of those are very costly services. So we think we're good stewards of your money and our money, the citizens of Pennington County, and we're here to ask for your continued support. Any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Mr. Chair. Randy, do you, sometimes in the past, we've kind of gotten not a breakdown of who uses EAP, but how many. I don't remember if we've gotten that recently.
I apologize, I did not provide that this year.
Okay. Because
I don't think I have that number either.
That's run through the commission office budget, Nancy, and I just missed it.
Okay. All right. So you're off the hook.
I appreciate that. Anybody else want to let me off the hook?
I will, just for the new commissioners, and they probably understand it as much or more than me. Statutorily, we owe them $1 per person that live in Pennington County, so that's part of this, and the other part is the employee assistance program that we've entered into, that they help our employees if we have problems for so many hours, and so that's basically.
Yeah.
But one's contractual and one's statutory, so.
There you go.
Thank you for that explanation. That was clear.
Are you still kind of holding that one room or for
George?
For a fellow commissioner?
Yeah.
You know, I'm bound by privacy laws and regulations, so.
So George, the room you already have, they said they can hold it longer.
We will go above and beyond to provide any services you may require.
Is there a statute on age?
No, there's no upper limit on that
You could
either.
call that something else and move it into a different department.
We don't discriminate in any way regarding that.
There you go, George. The answers are finished.
Thank you, Randy.
Any other comments or questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good day.
Thanks, Randy. Do a good job with crisis care as well, sir.
I guess we're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot to say if you're the last one, you're out.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for backloading us here with the conflict we had this morning. With me here is our chairman for 2015. Many of you may know Sean. This is Sean Gabb. He's the owner of Tritech Manufacturing and has been serving as our board chair since January. And as you know, we have a rotating cast of characters that come into our executive committee leadership. This year, we have also on the executive committee our immediate past chair, which is Steve Conzit, the regional president for Wells Fargo, who had a medical emergency. Otherwise, he would have been here today as well. David Lust with Gunderson Palmer is on our executive committee serving as our vice chair, and Brett Riddle from Riddle's Group also serves as our secretary treasurer, as well as whoever the sitting mayor of Rapid City. They are also on our executive committee. So each of you should have received a copy of our funding request dated April 21st, whereby we are asking for a $50,000 funding request for the 2016 year. Our history with Pennington County is a good one. I just wanted to reiterate the appreciation we have for the county and all the things that each of you do for economic development. We know all 5 of you believe in economic development, and Pennington County does its fair share in terms of economic development, particularly as it relates to tax increment finance districts that the city, I know you guys have a seat on that board. I know that's been a subject of consternation in the past, and I just wanted to underscore a couple of things. And for fear of sounding like a broken record, I think it's really important that the companies that we highlighted, particularly in this letter of request, not a one of them is located in any tax increment finance districts. And that's important because although I believe in the philosophy of tax increment districts, I understand the consternation with this board in the feeling of, your contributions to economic development come in the form of, foregone property taxes that would have been received were there not these districts in the first place. But what I really would like to focus on is the fact that I believe we are all on the same page as far as Pennington County continuing to be the economic anchor for the Black Hills region, and that a growing Pennington County is good. It allows, in fact, for those taxpayer resources to pay for many of the other applicants or many of the other requests that you heard this morning. It feeds the machine that allows for the county to take care of so many other services. So although we're included on the part of the budget that it would be considered a subsidy, we would prefer to really look at this as a smart investment by partnering with Rapid City Economic Development Partnership. You're supporting an organization whose sole objective in life is to grow this economy. And of course, Pennington County is the core. Just to hit on a couple of numbers that we feel are significant for you to consider before making your final budget decisions. All of these projects highlighted in this letter, including Dakota Panel, Amcon, Strider, Premier Home Mortgage, Wausau Supply, Coke Bottling, Adams ISC, Black Hills Harley-Davidson, Quality Services, Inc., GCC Dakota, and HFW. All these projects represent over $37 million in annual payroll, over 875 year-round jobs, and capital investment of over $50 million. So that's really our bread and butter. And then the other thing highlighted in here that I feel like is important for both Rapid City and Pennington County to really embrace is something that we have really supported, which is regionalism. The fact that Rapid City and Pennington County sit in really the catbird seat, and by default of our size relative to all the other communities in the Black Hills, I feel like it's our obligation as Pennington County and Rapid City together to demonstrate leadership economically, to say what's good for the region will be good for Pennington County and good for Rapid City. And conversely, what's good for Pennington County and Rapid City also benefits the larger region because we're in a stronger position to pay for a lot of those services that the larger community really has come to depend on. So this regional philosophy that we've embraced, we hope that the Commission also recognizes that and sees the value of supporting an organization that embraces that regional concept. And I've given a few examples here in the letter with the Regional Angel Fund that we launched last year. It's almost a $3 million fund. We've almost deployed all of those funds already. So now we're talking about potentially an Angel Fund 2 or a second round for that. That's to help start up companies. As you know, we also have formed the Rushmore Regional Rail Authority and the Rushmore Region Marketing and Branding Initiative, which sounds like Bruce was in here early talking about Black Hills Vision, and fortunately, we've been able to use the Black Hills Vision funding to launch that marketing initiative, which pulls in our economic development partners. There's no staff for the Rushmore Region Marketing Initiative. The staff, you're looking at one of them. If Brian Walker or Pat Kurtenbach or other representatives and other economic development groups, we are the de facto staff for Rushmore. So really, it's just a marketing umbrella. All of our operations continue to need to be funded in the traditional sources from the private and public sectors in our respective backyards. But with that, we stand available for any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Well, I have a comment, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Buskirk mentioned overlap, and what to me it looks like, I can always be educated, but Black Hills Vision and Economic Development looks like they're just one and the same, just different name. And others, but those two, you know, why the difference? Black Hills Vision and Economic Development, you're doing same goals, same objectives, same players in a lot of cases, a lot of overlap to me.
You do. I'll have to agree with George, because what I'm seeing is it's almost job creation through some of these other entities by creating Black Hills Vision. Then we have economic development. Now we have Rushmore Rail Authority. We have Porch to Plains. We have Rushmore Regional Branding Initiative. We have Rushmore this. We have Rushmore that. And these, and they just keep adding it more and more. And it all seems to go under you or under Black Hills Vision. And I would believe that was your guys' job. And that these people that are adding these different entities, looks like job creation. And I don't mean that just in this group. I'm even when I was in the city with Barb Garcia, I said, Barb, you have 5 different entities doing the same thing. It doesn't make sense. And as a commissioner or a person giving money, even in the community, who's best? Is what you see is who's best out of those 5 and who should I give my money to? And now you want us to see who's best to me. So what she did is she did combine them. She went in and said, okay, these are the issues. So when the city asked her, when she went through that, what was the best entities for this, in this sense, because there's so many combinations of things, she brought forward that. In this case, this board decides that, so that's up to them, but I'm just not getting so many branches off of branches and then trying to figure out which one is the best, because we can't give to all. And when do the citizens, because we're representing the citizens, when do we tell them which one is best because of our point of view? In government, to me, that's getting a bit crazy. So it's not that, and Mr. Busker said it right, you're all doing a great job. We're not saying you're not doing a good job, and you have, because I've seen your work. But you're branching off in many, many different areas. It seems like you're the one, and those entities should feed off you, and those people should be involved with you. And if those entities were that great, then the community would embrace that, and they wouldn't have to come to government anymore anyway, because those branches would be, self-sufficient at a certain point. And even at Black Hills Vision, and I hope Much doesn't get mad if I quote him, he said, when on these committees or these people that are asking money, when do we stop? How long do we fund them? Do we fund them for 2 years? Do we fund them for 3? Because in business, you only fund people, or bank funds you for 2 to 5 years, and then if you're not making it, you're done. So just some philosophy in there on some of that. It's not that if I ever not go for somebody's stuff, it's not because I don't think they're great at what they do. It's just that we have to pick and choose. So maybe sometime y'all should get together and figure that out in all those entities and say, we're going to do this. Because we believe that we can work with you guys and put that money and help you guys into those entities where you're going. You see what I'm saying?
I do. In fact, the dilemma, I think, is every community you approach is always in flux, and you meet it where it's at. So if you could start all over and just kind of bring out your magic wand and say, this is how it shall be from this day forward, and had those sort of powers to make it so, it would be a lot simpler, because then you could consolidate and collapse everything and say, this is going to be one mega organization, and then it's going to have 15 different divisions, if you want to look at it that way. And then the one, big kahuna comes and makes requests of the private sector and of the governmental partners to fund that, the big kahuna, which then they know has a lot of. And there are a lot of examples around the country, certainly, where you've seen that collapsed, consolidated model. It's already in place. I would agree with you. I don't think we're quite there yet here in the Black Hills. I think it is definitely worth aspiring to get to that point, to where those conversations are had and everyone comes together and everyone's sort of united when they come to make their requests, whether it's a request for Black Hills Corporation or Regional Health or you guys or the respective cities. I'll give you my opinion on what I think a positive step in the right direction is. And I think that the funding of the Rushmore Region Marketing Initiative is a great, I don't even want to call it a baby step, because it's a pretty significant big step, where you have all of these what would be normally considered parochial sort of disparate communities, all at least at that level, saying we're not going to disband the funding of our respective organizations and just all the money floods to Pennington County or Rapid City. Rather, let's all agree to at least climb under the same tent together that's a marketing umbrella. See how that goes. See how that feels, that we're all doing something like that together. So I look at the work of Black Hills Vision, particularly with the marketing, the Rushmore Region Marketing Initiative, which is something that I lobbied pretty strong to be funded, that is a great step in the right direction. That perhaps down the road, maybe there is a different funding model that we're all looking at and operating under. But to make too dramatic a step too quick might alienate some of our partners throughout the region. So that's my only response to that, Deb, is I think that this is a good step that's happening, and it's in flux even as we speak. We're in our second year of doing this. It's a 4-year campaign. I would hope that we have enough successes off of that project to build those relationships of trust, because there has been. I will say I've spent a lot of time out in the hills, and I personally have worked really hard to make sure that the vibe coming from Rapid City and from Pennington County by extension is a positive one, is one with hands outstretched to say, we got each other's back here. We're all one united economy. And it's a slow burn for some of the communities to really embrace that, because for whatever reason, they have this feeling like, all the roads go one way and they all go into Rapid City and Pennington County and they don't go the other direction. And I think it's incumbent upon the 5 of you, as well as the 10 city council people in Rapid, as well as the mayor of Rapid City, all 16 of those individuals demonstrate that sort of feeling about the Black Hills. And to me, that's basic leadership that I believe will yield different kinds of fruit down the road, where there's a stronger sense of trust. And then maybe this funding model that you and Ron are talking about can actually, come into play. If we tried to force it right now, my opinion is it might fall apart, and it would just be Rapid City and Pennington County doing our thing.
Well, if you also keep creating different branches of these and don't start combining, that becomes an issue, I believe, too. Again, there's many markets to pick from in that business plan, and which one is the biggest business plan, and customers, through anything they do that. So I believe that's what's happening here for government, is we have to pick the best customer and get the best bang for our buck. And trying to do all of those, I think, is for me, is not good. You got to have one that's going to get your best bang for your buck. That's what the customers, when they do their business, do. I don't know. I guess just from seeing it and being through it before, and you knew through the city, we needed to do that, and we did. And I think Pennington County has done that well, because I've seen their list. They've cut back, and I've talked to some of the commissioners. So I think Pennington County is done well with what they've done, and Rapid City, I think, is getting there, so.
Any other questions or comments?
Well, Mr. Chair, yes, I do. I'm still hung up on what Commissioner Buskird started of overlap, and
Why do I keep getting blamed for all this thing?
well, I didn't mean that in a negative way. I'm thanking you for
If you speak first.
for
you're
planting
one.
the seed. But Black Hills Vision is supporting projects and initiatives related to economic development. You're Mr. Economic Development, correct? So what do we need Black Hills Vision for? I guess I'm hung up. Thank you.
Well, after being in those entities and being on those boards, some of them do repeat themselves, and they do have the same players. And again, unfortunately, it's who's the best player for me, so, and who's going to give the best bang for the buck.
If I might respond to George, I think that Bruce, if he or much were still here, would tell you that every entity could just go it alone. Mm-hmm. That's a default position that all of us would end up going back to. You just go, well, here are the resources right in my backyard, and this is my city, and this is my county, and this is where we'll go and get those resources. And good luck to those other 5 counties that are part of Rushmore region. That's one philosophy. I don't subscribe to that, because I don't think that nets you the best results. I really believe that the stronger the whole regional economy is, the beneficiaries in Rapid City and Pennington County particularly, we benefit from that. So there's no disputing it. So if those 2 guys were here, they would probably tell you that the Black Hills Vision funding model truly does pull in government resources from all of the different governmental entities from throughout the 6-county Black Hills Vision. Where right now, we receive financial support from Rapid City, we receive financial support from Pennington County. That's it. I'm not going down to the other counties and the other cities asking for financial support in the same way that we do with Pennington County and Rapid City
so
for
Ben-
our operation, much like the other economic development corporations are going to their local city and counties for that ongoing operational support.
So Ben,
Yes.
you can't do that without making a Rushmore Region branding thing. You can't go to Jim, Joe, and Jeff from Sturgis, Spearfish, and Deadwood without making a Rushmore Region branding authority. You can't do that as a economic development. You can't call everybody together, meet with them, and say, let's do a regional thing without putting a committee together and starting a whole new committee for it?
We can. In fact, I would say that the Rushmore Region Marketing Initiative is doing that. It's exactly doing that. It is pulling down the economic development directors and presidents, whatever the different titles are, and putting us all under the same marketing umbrella. Not operational. It's not eliminating everybody's.
You don't have to eliminate anybody. You bring your companies together like you do any other business marketing, and you find what the best brand is for all of you, but you had to make a company and a Rushmore Region branding thing over that. That's what I'm saying. You're creating companies over companies when it seems to me that if you're doing your job and you were headed economic development here in Pennington County, that's one region. So you tell 5 guys in the other regions to come to your board, let's get together, let's have a meeting, and let's get together and do this. We do it all the time in city business or county. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why I keep seeing I have to make a committee to do this.
I think the biggest struggle is going to be to get the different governmental entities to sit down and do that. Private sector, no problem. That's the easy part, getting the private sector partners, because they already have business interests spread out throughout the Black Hills. So they already buy into that. It's the different city and county governmental entities that I believe need to have that sense of partnership. And that's why I feel like the Rushmore Region is not a company. Rushmore Region's a marketing initiative.
But it has people that are running that company, getting paid on those different entities.
No, each of the entities, the time I spend with Rushmore Region, I'm volunteering to Rushmore Region because I get paid from the Rapid City Economic Development.
There's no money involved with that, it's just a concept.
There's no staffing overhead costs associated with that. They're marketing dollars that get spent, but it's not an organization that has an overhead cost associated
And
with
you're
it.
asking for Black Hills Vision to give you money and other entities to create that company.
Correct.
Thank you,
To create that marketing initiative. It's not a company.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, one more go-around, and if, labels and all that business aside, and you've talked about being Black Hills wide, what the Black Hills Vision is. So you're doing the same thing. Just call it whatever labels you want to call it. You got 2 organizations doing the same thing, period.
I just have one more thing, Ben, too. Just some advice. When you do start branding the Black Hills, don't use Rapid Cities.
Right.
Let's do big things, and don't use the states, don't jerk and drive. For God's sake. That's as dumb as I've ever heard. I don't know how much we paid for that, but it was way too much.
There will be no Rushmore Region dollars going towards either of those two sort of campaigns.
I didn't know that. I learned something today.
Or the trip to Mars, yeah.
We made national news. We made
I'm pretty
all the
sure we did.
comedians on TV.
Just put my name on it if you want to make TV. I'm just saying, my last name makes it all. It's a great marketing strategy.
I guess, Mr. Chair, I guess I would have one more thing. We got boards after board after board after board.
Bring that up.
We need a few less boards and a few more people getting out and hustling.
Ben, you do a good job.
Thank you all for your
That's
consideration.
not what we're saying.
Sometimes being last on the agenda is a blessing, and sometimes it's not. You have to decide.
By that time, we're delirious.
Will you remember us? That's. Okay, thank you all.
Being here.
All right.
Are we done?
No, we're not.
We're not.
I am in charge, or Holly, one of us is in charge of the senior citizens, and it's the same amount they've gotten for the last 10 years or whatever, so.
What's that?
Their stipend for senior citizens. They get a transportation and which is used to buy tickets on Rapid Ride for older people going back and forth to the hospital or doctor. And the other is used for,
Where's it ran through, Buskard? I mean, how does it work?
Pennington County Commission on Aging.
And then just contact Holly, or who do they contact?
Me, I'm the board member that goes to the meetings. And Lindell is on it, but he never goes to the meetings. You didn't know you were on it, I bet you.
Assignment is to,
I just want your $5 here pretty quick.
my assignment is to help decide special funding issues. And I will tell you that I was on the original board.
Yep.
And it was formed because individual senior groups would be coming to this commission
Yep.
for this or that, and finally the county commission said, we're gonna pool the money, you manage it, and that sort of thing.
And it
it's
works-
been
and it
a
works
good
pretty good
program.
that way.
Been a wonderful program.
And they don't, $20,000, you know. that's-
Well, as long as you think it's alternate, that's fine. I think on the list I'm alternate, but
What?
I think I'm your alternate on that.
Yeah,
I think,
it's-
but you can keep thinking, Lindell, that's fine.
Then you don't have to
I-
go.
Yeah, he's on a special committee, I think.
Crisis.
I make a motion to
CC.
adjourn.
Second.
Do we have any more that we need to do today, Holly? So our next step is,
July 7th, commission meeting. I'll put together a list of the things that you guys should vote on. If you guys have any other things you want to do with the budget. I mean, I've only got $9,500 in cuts. I'm gonna make a dent in anything, so if you guys have any other directions you want to give,
So,
July 7th would be it.
Ms. Holly, could you tell me the process? Do we meet again like this and we talk about those cuts and?
We have
where
not
we-
in the past.
What?
We have not in the past. You guys
You gotta vote
can
on them, so you almost need a
give
meeting.
whatever direction you want. If you wanna say we need to cut X number of dollars, you departments figure it out. We've done that before, where all the department heads got in a room and offered up what they could. July 7th is really where you need to give some of the next direction on what you guys are thinking.
And those questions that we had, Ms. Holly, those will
I
be
will get
before
all
them.
of that stuff put together and give it to you guys in a packet, and hopefully answer some of those questions.
Thank you, Ms. Holly.
Direction has to come from the board on the bigger stuff. If you guys, wheel tax, that 2.2 and highway, wage study. Okay, subsidies is one that we put on the agenda, and you go through and vote on each subsidy, whether you wanna fund them or not.
And people can add subsidies, or do they have to be here if you wanted to add them? At this point, people can't come up and put any different subsidies on there.
No, that's up
Okay.
to the board. I mean,
Well, I didn't know.
I just send out letters to everybody that has requested in the past.
There you go.
But like Live and Black Hills Works and Helpline, those are new the last couple of years, and I don't solicit for new subsidies.
Right. We just ask you, as a person of the commission.
Correct.
Holly, I had somebody talk to me about this, but at this time, they should have probably we should have told you already.
But the board can make any changes you want to the budget till September 30th.
No, I'm
That's
good
up
with
to the board.
what we have, but I just needed to know the process. Thank you.
So just know that it takes departments time to go back and refigure and redo. So if you want changes, we need to give them a little bit of time. And then it takes Julie time too, to go replug everything and refigure the levies and,
So we really need to make the decisions on July 7th so that we can have that revised budget on July
By the next
21st.
meeting. Yeah, so as much as you can do now, I've only been here 6 years, but past boards like to have the budget done by July if they really can,
Yeah.
and then make those minor changes throughout. But to me, this is the biggest budget year you've had and the biggest challenges that you've had, and I think you're gonna have more work until September.
So we don't have a working session, we just come up, we work it out ourselves, we come here and look at the budget, and being new, wow, that's
My
kind of,
gut this year is you kinda have to have some working sessions.
Yeah,
think we
I
all
would
need
say
to get in a room and sit around a table, and hopefully Julie can be there. We can start plugging in numbers, changing things here and there.
thank you.
And see where you end up.
But we just do it up here at commission meetings?
Not the way she's talking.
Not the way I'm talking about.
Yeah, I believe I'm talking the same way you are.
I think on the 7th, we need to have some of those discussions and some initial guidelines, and then schedule some work sessions, depending on where we go. I mean, in reality, provisional, you could pull a number out of the air and approve it.
Thank you.
I mean, we have a good foundation, but I think you have more work before we get to the final.
Well, I like the,
Could include those work sessions.
I like the way the book was, it was a lot easier than in the past for me to read. That was awesome. But I truly believe with you, like you, that the working sessions so we can discuss things and not just pick and choose out of the air at a meeting. We can actually, I could see someone's point of view, and that's what makes my decision or my vote is just kind of, those working sessions help me decide. And then listening to commissioners that have been here longer than I have about, in case, I'm going to make a bad decision if I don't know all the facts. So if someone has some information I can make a better decision, that's good,
I think those budget narratives really helped this year. I mean, at least they did for me. When you only see this stuff once a year, it reminds you of, okay, this is why we're doing it. This is what we did. This is how we got here.
And Ms. Hawley, those grants and those fees and stuff were in there underneath each provisional one as well as the front page. So once I started going through it, then I had the understanding. So I appreciated that, and that was put in there because it made a difference for me to be able to ask those questions. So you did a good job on that budget book.
And that employee sheet on the front, we've never used those before, and when you were asking about those grant employees, I think that's a good idea. If I can find a way to add a column and see if employees can track, or if we do track those grant employees, that way, it'd be good information to have too.
Yeah,
So-
you're right, we have to track them because we end up 5 years from now,
That's exactly it.
they're in the budget and where'd they come from? Well, the 3-year grant, and it's.
The auditor's office used to track employees, and KJ does audit to FTEs every month, but for some reason, somewhere down the road, they stopped doing that. And so we don't have a master FTE list by department, and we do now. Jess has worked really hard on that. And now we want you to actually make motions and approve those FTEs like we did on Tuesday, to say, yes, we have approved this one, so that we don't just have.
Well, and if you have volunteers, and you have volunteers that are volunteering in that department, and if you have grantees that are doing some of that work, and then they're asking for an FTE, but they have a grant for 2 to 3 years, could they take that and not have to have us get that person because they already have that grant, and they're doing some of those duties? I think through some of the grants and looking through them, those are questions that you could ask. You have, okay, let's say MacArthur grant, you've hired 2 more people through that grant for 3 years that will be doing this, this, and this. So maybe they'll be helping you with some of the attorney stuff or some of the things that would be a cost savings, and then in the long run, not have to get that 2 FTEs or whatever that they were asking right away, but maybe put it down, can you wait 2 years because that grant will help you?
Well, in the past ones that I've been involved with that have come to the commission, they'll come and say, we want to apply for this grant, it would come with this FTE. And the board very specifically says, if the grant goes away, the employee goes away,
Always
or
have.
you come back and talk to us in 2 years, and then we'll make a decision. But
Yeah.
it's not a guaranteed
Yeah.
thing by any means.
We have
Right.
ever done
And we've done that with the state's attorney's office and the sheriff's office. Since I've been here, we
Yeah.
have those.
Can you tell me
And EM,
what
EM too.
unfunded FTEs are? And why do we have them?
They were approved FTEs at some point in the past.
And they
And I
keep,
haven't gotten a solid answer whether the dollars are sitting there or not.
it says unfunded, so I'm assuming they're not,
They
but I
have
don't
an
know
FTE
that.
out there.
And I think it's a sly way to get an employee without coming to us, but
Well, and the other
if they
thing
can
I
find the
think-
money.
I think Deb and George need to know is, in the past, departments were not allowed to spend
Yeah.
operations. How do I say that? They weren't allowed to spend any unspent salaries for operations.
right.
2 years ago, Health and Human Services had 2 retirees that had significant payouts. Well, they had all this money left in salaries. So the board at that time made a motion to remove that restriction, so they didn't have to do a supplement. So now, if there are any unspent salaries, they shouldn't do it, but it is acceptable if they need to, so we don't have to supplement.
I'll just tell you, when I was in the city, they'd ask for, they'd have 6, and then they'd only hire 3, and they'd use that for some of their operating costs.
And
That's the problem.
they're not supposed to do that
We
here,
know
and they
about
know
that.
that, and that's
Right.
been the practice for a long, long time.
Do we have a policy on crossover between this line item and this line item on a budget for department heads?
No, sir.
So they can,
If they don't go negative in their bottom line, past commissions have given them the authority or the discretion to spend their budgets how they need
they
to.
they
But
can move it around with,
I think, though, that we need to talk to Julie about that, because
Yeah,
there has been a lot of discussion about that in past years. And I've heard Julie say, no, you can't do that. You have to run
and that's a good
supplement
point.
from this one to that one. And so I think we need to make sure about that, how she handles it, because maybe she doesn't do it for all of them, but she does it for some of it, because we've run supplements that way.
And when she pays the voucher, she ought to be on a line item
Yeah.
and not just a department, you know.
We really need her here for this,
Yeah.
this working session that we're talking about. I agree we need a working session, because there is so much that is so much beyond our scope of what we have done in the past here. But we really need her, because she just, the history she has and all of that would be really valuable to all of us.
And Cindy, she writes the checks, and she's got to balance that against some authorization. You know, and she'd be the one that would really know. But the
Yeah.
banking FTEs, I don't understand the banking of the FTEs. Storing, what is, Julie used the word storing CPI? Well, we're storing FTEs.
And
but what-
undesignated supplies.
I am really trying to remember, because I remember a conversation about Heine doing that, but I can't remember the particulars. I remember Holloway asking about it, and I just,
That's right on. To me, those should not be under supplies. Those should be on the next page.
she's
under
right, yeah.
capital assets.
Well, it's the undesignated, I think.
Plow is not a supply, to me.
Right.
Accounting wise. Now, something might have changed with Gatsby or whatever, but to me, that should have been. in the
Again,
other
that's
line.
why we need Julie here, is to answer those kinds of things of why it would be allowed to be put under there.
And I think the word in that case, Ms. Holly, is undesignated. Does that make sense? Maybe that's why she might have helped him put it where it was supposed to be too, so.
But again, if it's not a planned replacement, that might be that key.
Right.
indicator. But
And keep-
without his accountant here, it's hard to know what they did.
And I did ask Miss Julie if she would come if we had a working session, because when I was working with her, and I don't think she's opposed to that, because she's,
Yeah,
I believe
it's just her
she can help
scheduling,
us.
yeah.
Ron,
I think we're on adjourned.
Lock her in there so she can't go.
I'm just trying to convince her.
Last day.
Can I say one more thing, though? That undesignated, that was the year that we did all of that changing because of Springbrook. And we changed so many line item names under the guidance of the auditor's office. So,
This is the first year, we're almost back to apples.
Yeah.
So it's better
It's
this
better, and
year.
now we got Springbrook.
We
And now
do.
did I hear from Julie that
I
that's not
know.
working with the dam, so we gotta spend another few million to get a different one?
I know it's a little scary, isn't it?
I like Springbrook.
Well, isn't that what she said
Whatever you want,
the
I'm
other
gonna go.
day?
Yeah.
Here?
We have to have
She
three?
wants $1 million a year for the
Move
next
to adjourn.
5 years.
Okay.
Get a new program.
We're done?
Well, we,
Yeah.
don't have to reach, it wasn't really an official.
$1 million on some program
Beginning
over here,
in.
and then they dumped it going over the dam.
Yeah, I heard that, I'm going, oh no, these poor
last day, Miss
employees
Hall?
went through